and then it just like I don't know how many people are allowed on a train of that size, because I feel like a lot of people got on that train Saturday when they watched Joel run the left side of or the right side of Charleston absolutely into the ground during his time on the field. Scores a goal, and just the absolute physical specimen that he is, I think, lends itself to hype when you don't even get into watching him play very well and very technically for a guy his size. You look how long he is. He can be built, and he still looks like a pencil. And he's strong enough and fast enough and technical enough to do this. But I think his hype train certainly picked up some people. I wanted to see. I think some of it lends itself to the way it was shot, and I understand why it was shot the way it was shot. But I wanted to see more of guys like a Jake Mulroney, who looked good in the very specifically edited highlight package from the Tormenta game, and is a guy that I'm looking at this year as being a very important depth piece for when this team needs somebody to provide late game boost when the schedule gets compact, who can come in and give me 60, 70 minutes of absolute hell. So guys like that, guys who are going to be in the depth conversation, I was very interested to see what they could do, to see where they sit on that depth chart when the schedule starts getting compact and you need someone to be that spark.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the competition, I think, for time here, and that's going to be one of the biggest things that goes on all season is the ups and downs of the depth chart. And you're going to see some mixing and matching based off opponents as well, but it's going to be competitive. The depth is there. You will have injuries. You will have things that happen throughout a year. We've seen it. You know how this goes. But going in, the depth is very good across the board. And yes, there are updates this morning that the depth at center back could be getting even better. Alan Franco left Buenos Aires last night, flew overnight to Atlanta. I'm assuming, unless he flew somewhere else. I mean, that would be a shock, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
He was interviewed by Te'ise on his departure at Buenos Aires. Talked about how he had been talking to Ezequiel Barco, was looking forward to reuniting with him, his former teammate at Independiente. And the offer from Brazil, this is not what Franco said, this is just, looking at the situation, either never materialized or wasn't real to begin with. And this news out of Argentina late Saturday night after Independiente lost to Vélez and Franco played said that the deal was back on and nothing had changed in terms of the offer. So welcome to Independiente doing transfer business down here. Welcome to just transfer sagas down here. But Alan Franco, I believe his flight landed here about 2 hours ago. And we'll see what happens. He's got to do a medical. I believe there are still some final things to work out. That other 50% of the deal, I think, coming up with the terms for how that gets paid out and when it gets paid out or how it's sorted out, that's probably what's still hanging over this. But according to all the reports out of South America, Alan Franco will be joining Atlanta United. That gives you a little more depth at center back. But we saw in this one, John, a number of different players play. A couple players play in some different spots that maybe we weren't expecting. We saw Josh Bauer, who is still trying to earn a contract with either the first team or Atlanta United 2. He played. We saw some players from the academy. We saw some players from Atlanta United 2. What stood out to you?
I have, as want to do in these situations, I have my notes. I have notes and I have names. And just going down literally as things happened in each period. I'm sitting there and looking at guys. You had Jarrett mentioned Barco. The early play of Hernandez, the early play of George Campbell. Jarrett mentioned Machop Chol, and it's going to be fun to continue to see his development. Tyler Wolff had the opportunity where it was the double save. I'm guessing it was Joe Kuzminski that was in net, but Tyler Wolff had the opportunity early. You got to see guys like Abdoulaye Diop in periods 3 and 4. Brendan Lamb helps out on the Kubo Torres goal. You mentioned Josh Bauer. You saw Brooks Lennon. And by the way, that was a goal. I'm sorry. It was a goal.
It was a goal.
We didn't have VAR. Yeah, it was a goal. Even though we didn't have VAR, it was a goal. But just to see a lot of different guys come and have their moments. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the Mike Conti approach in all of this. And this was me first and foremost with this training exercise. No one got hurt. That to me was first and foremost. So everyone who played, I looked at, no one got hurt, but there were a lot of different guys that we saw kind of step up and have their moments, and you just want to see that develop as we go.
Yeah, no one got hurt. I guess there was a concern that because Joseph played 30 minutes and came off that there was an injury. There wasn't. Trying to think who else played 30 minutes. There were a few who played 30. There were a few who played 60. It's just part of the process, you know? I mean, Franco Ibarra, not fully fit. He came in a little bit later after getting his visa stuff worked out. You know, guys have been training, so you take a kick in training, you roll an ankle a little bit. Like, things happen that we don't know about, where in this session, of course you're not going to push them past any level of comfort. So, yeah, tranquilo on that for sure, because, you know, I didn't see anybody come off injured. I didn't see anybody needing any assistance, anything like that. Trying to think of what else stood out to me that you guys haven't mentioned. You got to see Rocco Rios Novo in goal in the first 60 minutes. Had a couple of moments. What stood out to me was just his comfort level on the ball. I thought that was a big deal. Shiva says, okay, we'll get into questions. Let's just go ahead and get into questions. You guys heard me on the broadcast. You don't need me to talk more about what I saw because I told you what I saw as it was happening. Jarrett, you got something? Quick?
You talk about being good on goal, and I think it's getting to the point now, and not just in Atlanta, but around the world, where it's becoming an afterthought of, the keeper's good with the ball at his feet. No, you have to be nowadays. You can't. It's going from being that's a luxury to that's a requirement for you to play in a lot of systems at all. And it's great to see that he was good on the ball, but it's becoming a thing around the world. I think that it's not, instead of just being like a luxury of you can play it back to him and you can you don't have to worry about it, to being he has to be able to play with the ball at his feet or he's not going to play here.
Yeah, I mean, that's in a lot of clubs, that's just part of the deal now. And the level of he's good with the ball at his feet has definitely changed. I mean, it used to be that if you could just complete simple passes and not boom it long, you were good with your feet or you're good with distribution. Now you got to be able to play, and you got to be able to play as a field player. And I think you saw that from Rocco Rios Novo. All right, we're going to take questions. If you guys have them on Twitter, chime in at Soccer Down Here. I know we had some audio issues on the app originally, but we're good to go now. Welcome to not even updates down here. I don't know why all my settings changed.
Monday
overnight.
Down here.
Yeah, whatever. Mondays, I guess, where everything changes for no reason. Anyway, we're good to go now. If you have any problems with it, please let us know. We'll get going. So tweet at us, at Soccer Down Here. You can also throw in comments on the Twitch pitch. We'll get to those as well. We'll kind of bounce around between them. Shiva with the first one. Realistically, how much do you think Joseph will give us in the first few months? Everything? Like, there's no limitations here, and there shouldn't be. I believe there was a lot of freaking out when Joseph spoke to the media about how he needed follow-up procedures on after his surgery with his knee. There's been no commentary about him being less than 100% right now. He played 30 minutes here because he hasn't been fully training, I think, from day one with the group. And you're going to be a little careful in a training exercise. So you want to get a look at some other guys. You wanted Kubo to get 30 minutes. There's been nothing about a problem. It's not exactly unheard of either when you have an ACL surgery to have follow-up procedures. I think the way the initial comments were made in the press conference, and look, people are tweeting fast and responding to things quickly, was that he had follow-up surgeries. That's not the way that I took it. That's not the way it sounded like to me, and that hadn't the way it had been reported up until this point. You have procedures, not every time, but you have procedures to clean things up after surgeries. It does happen. That's a different thing altogether. I don't think there was a concern that it was going to set him back. And right now, you're almost 12 months from the surgery, because he had the surgery a little bit later in March. I don't remember the exact date. And you're almost 13 months from the injury itself. By the time you get to Alajuelense, you'll be past a year for both. You'll be 13 months past the injury. He should be fine. There's nothing that has been said or insinuated, or what we've seen and had a chance to see him for 30 minutes didn't look at all like anything was wrong. Didn't look like he was losing that spark. There's a difference between being able to play 30 and being able to play 90 from a fitness standpoint, sure, and you're building up to that. But I don't think there's any limitation on him, and I don't think there's any reason why there should be a thought that there is. So I wanted to kind of drive that home a little bit. I don't think there's any concerns about him not being able to give you 90 straight out of the gate. You could manage him a little bit differently if you want to early on to be careful, because you have Lisandro Lopez, you have Cubo Torres, you have Jackson Conway, you have people who can take the load off for him a little bit. And if you're going to play, especially once you get into that first week of the season, where you could have a CONCACAF game, go to Orlando, then another CONCACAF match, then come home for Chicago, then another CONCACAF match. Yeah, you might not play him all those games, all 90 minutes every game. But that's not necessarily because of the knee. That's because it's a lot of games in a short period of time. Do we have anything on Twitter you want to start with, John?
Yeah, I'll wrap up. I'll second your thought. When I heard Joseph and it was mentioned 5 surgeries, I thought it was 5 procedures and then the cleanup. That's the way that I interpreted it. Because
it was a surgery and follow-up procedures is the way that I believe would be the proper way to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, because if it's scar tissue or things like that just need to be cleaned up, that's how I interpreted it. But Patrick Delaney Fender first on the board for Overreaction Monday. He says he was impressed with the youngsters. Who from the academy or draft do you think will push for time this season?
Machop Chol. I think Machop's a unique player, and he didn't look out of his depth at all in this. Machop looked really good. The things that he's going to need to be improving on is his work off the ball. Defensively, his work making runs in behind, his work in the final third going to goal himself. Those are the things that he's going to have to continually work on. It looks like that work's been paying off so far. It was a good performance from him. From the academy, Efrain Morales, still young. I expect him with the twos. Tyler Wolff will be an interesting one. He's in a crowded position group centrally. He needs games, probably going to see those with the twos early on. Jackson Conway, I think, will go back and forth. It'll just depend on what's needed. But he'll see some time with the twos, and I think he can absolutely do the job if needed with the first team. He's different from Kubo and Joseph and Lisandro. He's a big body number 9. He can play as a target. So Jackson Conway can play that role very well if needed, but you also have other guys you're going to be playing in that role. So you're going to need to get him games. George Campbell is the other one I think a lot of people have latched onto now. He looked fine. I mean, again, you're not really tested defensively. He had one moment where I thought he got caught with bad positioning, but he recovered really well. It shows you his range, his ability to get back quickly. He did that. So that's good to see. You don't want to get caught initially to begin with. Looked comfortable on the ball, not really too worried about that. So I think it's Chol. I think Campbell will see time as well, but now if Franco comes into the group, then that's going to limit some of the minutes for Campbell. Maybe he sees more time with the twos as a result, because he doesn't need to be sitting behind somebody and not playing. He needs to play wherever that is, because he has only 20-something games at a professional level. You need to keep getting him games. The other guys that might not see time with the first team this year, but I think helped themselves, Abdoulaye Diop was very, very good in that holding midfield role, playing solo, dropping between the center backs. His ball to Brooks Lennon was exquisite. Abdoulaye Diop showed the promise that we saw at times in flashes last year with Atlanta United 2. I thought Brendan Lamb looked good at 17, just turned 17 not that long ago. His cross to Kubo Torres was very nice. Covered a lot of ground. He looked good. Jack Gurr looked fine, and we know what to expect from Jack Gurr on the right side. Those are guys with the twos that, and the academy in Lamb's case, who helped themselves here. Josh Bauer played in the second 60, and he was fine. I mean, he wasn't tested. Like, that's the thing is, defensively, he really didn't have much to do. He looked comfortable on the ball. Movement was good. He understood, I think, the principles of the positioning and the shape, and he was fine with all of that. You just want to see him defend, and he really didn't have much defending to do. But Bauer is still not under contract yet. He is not. He was drafted, but he is not under an MLS contract yet or a USL contract. But the fact that he saw as much time as he did makes you think that he's going to be with one of the teams this season.
And that lends itself into Tafka's question. It was about Bauer, and he says, but he wondered if there was any chance that Bauer doesn't sign. He doesn't think not, but
there's absolutely a chance he doesn't sign. I mean, yeah, like to say there's no chance that he doesn't sign. No, that's not true. I mean, somebody else could come in and say, we'll give you more money at the USL team, which can happen. If he's offered a USL contract, one of the independent teams might come in and say that we're going to offer you more money, and he might take it. But yeah, he could absolutely not sign. But the fact that he played and has been mixing in with the group throughout the preseason is a good sign for him sticking around. Go ahead and finish from Tafka. Sorry.
Oh, no, he just wanted to know odds makers on first team deal with the twos, declines, goes elsewhere. He was just wondering what the odds are on things like that, you thought?
I don't even know what number to put on it. I mean, you're looking right now, if Alan Franco's gonna be here, you're looking at Miles Robinson, Alan Franco, George Campbell, Anton Walks, Alex DeJohn, probably first team. Maybe Campbell drops down the second team. That's 4 guys. You see Sosa, who can drop in if he needs to. Morales will probably be second team. I don't know if Bauer is going to jump over those guys or if it's necessary. I think Atlanta United 2 would be the one that makes the most sense. But then the question's going to be, you're going to have Efrain Morales. You're going to have George Campbell probably, at least at times, probably a decent bit. You could have academy players like a Matthew Edwards and others get time at center back. So is Bauer going to be a projected better player than those guys? Because you don't want somebody that you don't see as a future MLS player taking minutes from an academy player or a homegrown who you do see as a future MLS player. That's the assessment that has to happen here. Because you only have so many minutes to give, even among two teams. Even among two teams with the center backs we just went through, there's going to be a lot of guys who don't play. And some guys know that. I mean, Alex DeJohn, I don't think, came here thinking he was going to start and play 34 games. He's a solid veteran hand. He doesn't need to play games with the twos to stay sharp. He's going to be fine. George Campbell needs games. Efrain Morales needs games. Bauer needs games, too. If you're going to play a 4-3-3 with the second team, well, 2 of those 3 are going to be starting games. And you can rotate, sure. And you can, manage the workload, absolutely. But you're also going to have academy center backs who are going to need games. So Bauer's got to impress, and he's got to continue to do that in training. He really didn't see a ton here because he wasn't tested much. So I don't know. I don't think it's a slam dunk just because there's already a lot of center backs here. And he's going to have to show that not just he's a good soccer player, not just he's a good center back today, but he's going to have to show that he projects as an MLS level center back. And that's going to be the question. And I think he's got it in him, but is he going to be further along than Morales, than Campbell, than maybe some of the academy center backs that we haven't seen as much yet? Don't know. That's going to be a tough job for the front office to make those decisions and make those projections.
And that catches us up on Atlanta United questions on Twitter. It's wide open.
Wait a minute. So there was a preseason friendly exercise, joint training exercise, whatever we want to call it, and we've had 2 questions from Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You went back to Saturday.
I went back to Saturday.
Nobody's asked anything.
Nobody's asked anything.
Okay, that's fine.
And if I've missed it, resubmit it wouldn't be the first time, but I went back in the timeline after the match.
Okay, that's cool. I'm a little surprised, but that's cool. Abby said that Mike and I did a great job. It was a challenge. It was tough without numbers. I just wish the cameras were better to see the build-up or see what was going on with the ball. Glad you were actually in the bins. There's reasons for that. One, it was moved to the bins late, so you're scrambling camera positions and you're scrambling, people together to get that opportunity. It's worth all of that. You can definitely speak to that.
Is if you're doing that job, whether it's 3-play, whether it's camera, whether it's graphics, whether it's if you're punching, you're scheduling stuff, weeks out. It's if someone says, "Hey, we need people at the bends on 2 days' notice to do this," there's a good chance that if you're really a top flight who's doing this, you probably have stuff booked up already somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
so it is a scramble drill.
It's a scramble.
I mean, you
drill.
had all the football games, you had the indoor stuff in Gwinnett. There were a lot of things going on this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a scramble drill, and it's not gonna come off as clean as you would like, but it's worth it to get into the bends and do that training session because Gabriel Heinze hasn't been in the building with anything resembling a game. I don't know if they've practiced there at all. I don't think they have. A lot of those players haven't been in that building. So to get the opportunity, you take it. You take it. Because I know everybody wants to see it. You know, everybody wants to get a full TV broadcast kind of situation for a preseason match or training exercise. I totally understand that. But the number one goal of all of it has to be preparation for the season. It has to be preparation for that. And if it comes at the expense of being able to see the build up or being able to show everything or do all that, you have to take it. You have to get this team ready for the season. That's the number one job. Because if you say, well, we can't do this at the stadium because we're not ready to do it from a camera perspective, and the broadcast might not be as strong as we would have liked if it was over at the training ground. And then you have players who are unfamiliar with the building by the time they get in there. It's not worth it. It's not worth that when you get to April 24th playing Chicago. You got to do it. You just got to do it. And I know it was a little awkward at times. We tried to explain things as best we could with all of it. I feel bad for Charleston, but we had some numbers for Charleston, and then you could barely see the numbers because they were very tiny on their training shirts. Yeah. So, I mean, we were guessing about anything with Charleston. It was a challenge. But it's a training exercise. You know, I mean, ultimately that's what it was. So I hope that we were at least somewhat entertaining and informative doing the broadcast. It was fun to do it. It was good to see, and it was good to see, I think, just everything look pretty smooth. I mean, there's still a lot of room to grow. There should be. You shouldn't be at your finished product a month into your preseason. If that's the case, your finished product isn't very good because it is constantly building on itself. You're very early days, and I think you got a good glimpse at it. Sean said, who stood out most during the day? I think afterwards, as I was thinking about it, Santiago Sosa, definitely. I liked his game. Ezequiel Barco, I think Barquito looked really, really good in this. Machop Chol. You know me, holding midfielder guy. Abdoulaye Diop. I thought both of your holding midfielders looked really, really good, doing everything that you want to do in terms of build up. I liked Lisandro Lopez. I liked his game a lot. Those are the ones that come to mind for me. There were guys that did what I expect them to do. Brooks Lennon was the Energizer Bunny as always. His run off the ball to create the goal. His run to create the other goal that should have been called a goal. It's really good work from Brooks Lennon. Tyler Wolff, I think, is still adjusting to the position. And when he came off, he went over immediately to talk to Gabriel Heinze. And there was a lot of kind of talk on looking at a board when it was far away from us. We couldn't really see exactly what was being said, but I'm assuming a lot of it was positioning. A lot of it was the positional play idea because it's one of the hardest things for young players. You want to go to where the ball is. But in the build-up, if you're in one of those attacking roles, you've got to be patient and you've got to allow the ball to do the work and come to you. Because by staying patient and keeping the shape, you create more opportunities once you get to go to goal. If everybody clumps together, look, it's easy to defend. So Tyler Wolff, I think, will get it. He's a really smart young player. But it is a little different for him, and that was something else that stood out to me that I noticed.
Ezra Packham is in, and he says, it's not a question, just a thought from the game, in quotation marks, as he puts it. He says, what I realized most from the session is that wherever Charleston played the ball, there was always someone on their back. Our players could anticipate where the ball would go and be there ASAP and be on their back.
Yeah, it's a little predictable with Charleston. That you kind of know what you're going to get with them. They don't really surprise you too much in that. But it was definitely something that was a focal point. you could tell on the defensive side. It'll get better as the year goes on. It'll get better when you see it against good competition because it'll just show up better in those moments. I mean, Charleston was limited going forward. They didn't have spring in their step. They're limited in talent as well against Atlanta. It's just a fact. It's okay. So you were able to do it, I think, with just an understanding of the principles. Against better teams, they're going to test you and they're going to play faster, and you've got to be even more locked in. You saw when the ball turned over, Atlanta United immediately tried to win it back, and it wasn't recklessly trying to win it back. It wasn't just run around and try to get it. It was controlled, and it was in sync with the full group. And you saw defenders stepping up very high. You saw a lot of the building blocks, but it's building blocks. It's something that you're still early in and will have its bumps in the road. It'll happen. You'll make mistakes. We saw one early. I think it was a giveaway from Sosa, nearly led to an opportunity very early on. I mean, the goal that Charleston got is off a handball. You didn't deal with the set piece well. That's something you're going to have to work on. Sosa picked up a yellow card where he was caught, had to make the foul. These things will happen. But overall, it was pretty solid. You could see that it's not just you've got good players here. It is that there is a set of principles in the way this team will play that are being established. And it's still a work in progress. But you saw some of that progress on Saturday. Definitely. I thought it was good. Let's see. Matt Wagner asked about Joseph. Do you start him or bring him off the bench in situations where he's not fully match fit? You start him when he's ready to start. If he's available and he's a full go, he's starting. If you're managing minutes, it just depends on how many minutes he has. You know, you're blessed with, I think, more depth at forward this year that suits the way you want to play. Lisandro Lopez absolutely suits the way that Gabriel Heinze wants to play. Cubo Torres, he gets a goal, he build that confidence back up. He was putting himself in good positions last year. He just wasn't finishing. You've got guys that can do that. You can also drop in a false nine in that. You can do a lot of different things if you want to do it. So he doesn't have to play 90 every single game to be competitive. I've always felt like if you can go 60, you can start. If you can only go 45, I'd rather have you come off the bench. If you can't get into the second half, you probably need to come off the bench. The biggest question for that, and we can't really answer it yet, is going to be, are you going to have 5 subs or 3? You know, if you're going to have 5 subs, then yeah, you can take some more liberties with that, and you can plan on things a little bit more with 5 subs of, okay, yeah, it's Joseph, so if he's only got 45, we'd like that from the start. In general, no, but if it's Joseph, yeah, you're going to play him 45 if he's good to give you 45, and you know you're still going to have 4 subs to work with after you pull him at 45. But there's not any concern right now about him not being a full go for April 6th. That I feel like that has to just be said every single time his name comes up, because there's been nothing said about him being limited. That has to be understood here. It's okay. What else we got on Twitter? Anything else?
Tafka asks, we've talked about who might flourish under Heinze, who might struggle with this new system or may find themselves on the outside looking in from game day 18s.
It's going to rotate. I mean, it's going to be down to who's performing well. I don't think there's anybody who can't pick it up. It's just who will. You know, I mean, it's not a. I think maybe there's just an idea that it's so difficult and it's so crazy. It's not. It's just something you have to think through and be able to do and make the adjustment to. I mean, Thierry Henry talked about how that was hard for him going to Barcelona and playing in that way. And you're talking about one of the best players in the world when he goes to Barcelona. And he's like, yeah, I had to be patient and stay wide. You're going to have to do that. The guys who are disciplined, the guys who are understanding the principles will continue to play. And then the guys who are just playing the best. I don't think there's anybody here who can't do it, because Atlanta United's always prioritized guys who can play. This has been from day one. You know, you didn't go sign center backs who can't play with the ball at their feet. You never have. And you probably never will, because it's critical to being able to play the style of soccer that you want to play in Atlanta. So Michael Parkhurst, Leandro Gonzalez Perez, Miles Robinson, yes, he's developed it. Yes, he's still, he's not Michael Parkhurst at it, because Michael Parkhurst is maybe one of the best ever American center backs in terms of being technical. Miles Robinson's really good, and he's really good with the ball at his feet, and the numbers back it up. George Campbell, good with the ball at his feet. Alex DeJohn, good with the ball at his feet. Alan Franco, you want to see him more with the ball at his feet, but he's been good with it. He's just coming from a system that hasn't done that quite as much. Franco Ibarra, same thing in the midfield. Santiago Sosa, good with the ball at his feet. I mean, you can go all round. Anton Walks, technical. So you're signing players that can adapt to the system. You're not signing players who don't fit. So I don't think there's anybody who just doesn't fit. I don't think that's the case at all. It's just going to be down to performances and down to who shows that they understand everything as it's added, all the intricacies. Who's going to put in the work off the ball? Who's going to make the runs off the ball when that time comes for it? Who's going to be bold enough to play in this way? Who's not going to play safe? Those kinds of things are down to once you see it in competitive action, and we just have to wait and see.
Follow-up from Tafka. What chance is there that FIFA sticks to 5 subs after COVID is over? He's digging the change.
No clue. I think there's a lot of pushback against it, so I'm not expecting it, but I'm okay with more subs. There might be a compromise of 4 or something. I don't have a problem with it, but I think there's enough pushback that it won't stay 5. I don't think it will stay 5. Maybe it goes to 4. I think it probably goes back to 3. We'll see about MLS, though, because they have to make a decision here, and they haven't made any announcements on it, because it'll affect the game day roster as well. They increased the size of that with 5 subs. They need to make the decision. If they have already, they need to announce it. If they haven't, they need to make it quickly, because this year for MLS is not really all that compressed. So the arguments for having 5 subs has generally been schedule compression. Well, MLS's schedule is not going to be too compressed. So let's see if they go back to 3. I don't know. But long term, I don't think they stay with 5. I think there's just too much pushback on it. I'd be cool with it, but I don't think they will.
And that catches us up on Atlanta United stuff again.
Bernd Dursberger says, I think there are clubs who use restrictions for players returning from ACLs. One example was Leroy Sané. Bayern basically used him as a sub only in the fall to bring him along slowly. What I'm saying is, 1, I'm not on the medical staff. 2, there's been no conversation about anything about being restricted. 3, the club's actually said the opposite so far, is that there won't be any restrictions with him yet. But they didn't know until you get into preseason. So it's really early to be jumping to conclusions about Josef Martinez and where he is fitness-wise. It's really early. So that's the main thing I'm saying here. There's been nothing said to give us the understanding that he will need to be restricted. Could he be? Sure. Things happen, and we don't know them yet. So that's all I know on it. I don't know what to tell you because I'm not on the medical staff. But we don't know where it is, and there's still plenty of time. The thing that I would say about it is just because of the calendar, it is going to work out to where he's had longer than a typical time back because of the way that the season worked out. I mean, he was injured February 29th of 20. He had the surgery at some point in March, I think in late March of 20. It's not coming back and starting to work out 9 months after. I mean, he's going to be a full 12, and he's been working out. So I think he's going to have that extra time that will help him, but we'll just have to wait and see. You know, there's been nothing said to give you a reason to worry yet, so don't worry yet, is basically where I'm at. There's not a reason to do it as we stand today.
Going back, it looks like it was March 18th of 2020 was when Josef had the surgery, so we just cleared the year mark.
Okay. I mean, and he's been back training, and there haven't been any worries about him being slowed down. So that's where we know right now, and we'll just have to wait and see. He looked sharp. There was nothing I saw from him in his 30 minutes that made me worry like he's not going to be ready to go on April 6th. There was nothing I saw that gave me that concern. Katie Weaver says, if I'm remembering, Chol was playing on the left, Mulroney on the right. Does a Heinze style cater to wingers who can cut in on the strong foot? Absolutely. Inverted wingers. He will do it a lot. You could see inverted outside backs as well from time to time. it's definitely something that you'll see. It doesn't mean you'll see it all the time. It means you'll see it. Machop Chol could play on the other side as well. Mulraney could play on the other side. Marcelino Moreno could play on the other side. A lot of it's matchups once you get into that. And I think that's the other thing to remember about Saturday is you were not doing anything from a tactical perspective regarding Charleston. There's such a difference, and I feel like we're going to have to really drive the terminology home. Tactics and philosophy are two completely different things. What you saw Saturday was philosophy, principles of play, style of play. You didn't see tactics. You played your base, which, as we've talked about all the time since Heinze was hired, it's a 4-3-3 base. That's what you're going to start out of. Did you see the holding midfielder drop between the center backs and build up? Yep. Charleston at times would play two up top. Did you see the holding midfielder kind of hang back, maybe not drop behind the center backs, but drop into a configuration with them, maybe a little in front? Yep. So you could deal with the two forwards when you needed to, and you really didn't have to in this game. But you saw the principles come through. One of those principles is you're going to look for opportunities to create superiority. It's not always numerical superiority, by the way. That's one thing you're always looking for as much as you can, but you're also looking for, quality superiority. And if you feel like you go into a match and you're playing a team with a weak left back, for example, and you want to exploit that person on the dribble, you might move Marcelino Moreno to the right side as opposed to the left because you want to exploit that situation. Okay. There's going to be times where you might move Machop Chol over there because of that. Okay. You make subs. You might do things from a substitution perspective to take advantage of things that you see or things that have changed in the game. Those are tactics. Like shape changing in a game, shape changing from game to game, positioning of players in the field, 3 in the back versus 4, that kind of stuff. That's tactics. The principles of play, though, the things about staying wide, the things about creating superiority situations, the things about positional play, the things about the way you immediately try to win the ball back. Those are principles, and those will happen whether you're playing a 3-3-3-1, a 3-3-1-3, a 4-3-3, whatever you want, 2 holding midfielders, 1, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The principles don't change. The tactics can change shape. The tactics can change positioning, but the principles are going to be the key here, and that's what you're working on now. But once you get into competitive games, you're going to start to say, okay, Alajuelense plays a 4-4-2. All right, they're going to play 2 up top. We need to make a decision. Does that mean we play 3 center backs, or does that mean that Santiago Sosa sits deeper, and maybe he's not a true center back, but he helps the center backs by giving them the extra player in that situation? Maybe he picks up one of the forwards. Maybe that leaves Miles Robinson free. Maybe it's Miles and Franco or the other center back, whoever it is, who is dealing with their 2 forwards, and it's Sosa who is free. And maybe he drops between them and deeper because of that. That's a tactical thing. And that's going to be a decision to be made because Alajuelense does play a 4-4-2. But then you're also going to look at that 4-4-2 and say, we can dominate in the middle. We're going to play through the middle a lot here because we're going to have 3 central midfielders. Then you get back to that question about Sosa. Do you feel like you can afford to have him read the game, drop between the center backs when the time calls for it, step up to give you the numerical superiority when the time calls for it, or do you maybe need to bring in somebody else to help him with that midfield and play 3 center backs? You can make those decisions tactically. Won't change the way the team plays, though. Tactics don't drive style. Style drives tactics, but also the opponent drives tactics, and that's going to be a factor here. But inverted wingers, inverted outside backs, yep. 2 8s versus 2 10s, yep. 8s, 10s, 6s, that stuff's going to get really confusing this year. It's going to be a little bit different way of thinking. It will. But inverted players, it's a hallmark of positional play because you want your wingers to stay so wide. When they do get the ball, you want them to cut in and maybe go to goal and give you that possibility. You also saw the things that the winger staying super wide can create with Brooks Lennon coming inside, making not an overlapping run, but an interior run because of that space that was created. So it's going to get interesting. It's going to be fun. But yeah, don't get hung up on who's on what side. And they only play on the right side, or they only play on the left. Not anymore. Not anymore. Wingers are wingers. Outside backs are outside backs. Central midfielders are central midfielders. Center backs are center backs. Forwards are pretty much forwards, although they can do some different things too.
Also, as a part of the subs discussion, Ellen Reynolds says she likes the idea of the 5 subs, more opportunities for younger players on the bench to get minutes. And Chris Hutchison on the substitution number says, considering the amount of training today's athletes undergo and the increase in the number of games in a season, it makes good sense, in his opinion, to permanently increase the number of subs to help protect both players and the club's investments in them.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I have zero problem with it. But you've got people, and I mean, look at the Premier League. They fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it. You've got people who are, back in my day, it was like this, and it needs to stay like this because that's how it was.
And we liked it.
I don't know if they did, because these people generally seem like they don't like much of anything. But they don't want to change it just because there's really no good reason. It's the same thing that happened about goalkeepers, not being able to pick the ball up on back passes. Same thing that happened when you went from 2 subs to 3. I mean, I'm sure it happened when they introduced yellow cards and red cards. It's just the game's a little slow to change. I'd be fine with it. It does change things, and a lot of people say that it gives the bigger teams an advantage because they have better players on the bench. But I think you can overcome that with the way you use the subs. If you are a team that maybe doesn't have as much talent, you can use the subs in a tactical sense and get advantages out of it. So it just changes the way the game plays out, and I'm good with it. If we get that opportunity to stay with 5, I'd be fine. I'd be 100% fine.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, the concussion sub, if you get into injury situations, that's also been a part of the discussion too. So I'm glad that that's a part of the discussion in addition to just normal substitution patterns.
Byrne, talking about the training exercise, said Mike called it like on radio, which was perfect because we didn't see much at times. And yeah, Mike and I have always talked about that. John and I have talked about that with the 2s. I don't think in maybe other countries there's as much of a difference between a radio and a TV call. Here, there's like a mindset that it has to be 2 completely different worlds. I don't think it does, especially when we're dealing with stuff like this, like streams. When I call a college game or a high school game or something like that, I'm assuming that a lot of people watching don't know every player on the field. Right. So I'm going to tell you who's got the ball at a minimum. Maybe I'm not going to be as descriptive as radio where it's, the player's cutting in from the right to the left. No, but I'm going to say who's got the ball. And I think at times that even gets left out. It's just, I think it's just style. I like the Latin TV style a little bit more, where I think it is more talkative than the English and maybe not all European, but some European style, where it is a little bit more let the picture do the talking. I like when the commentators are telling you what's going on. I don't want them to just tell you exactly what you see. But
because you're seeing it.
Right, but if you're dealing with a stream, you might not be seeing it,
right.
First off, and you might not know who's doing it. And I think that's really important. Don't assume that you know that. But here's the thing. I mean, you can say that, John, and I don't think the commentators in Argentina or Mexico or Spain are doing it wrong. They don't stop.
No.
They don't lay out for 90 seconds of play. I don't think they're wrong in that approach.
No, I don't think so either.
It's a different style.
Yeah.
If they're telling me what I see, I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah, no, it's to me, it's all a part of the storytelling element of the game in and of itself, and all of the context and all of the info with the players and things like that. To me, what you're doing is you're telling a story over 90 minutes, and if there's if there's a gap in there, sometimes there's a gap. But I think that if you're constantly talking, it's just stylistics. I think that some folks sit there and think that when you're telling a story over 90 minutes, sometimes if you're watching a stream or if you're watching on TV or whatever, sometimes, and this varies from place to place, some folks will lay out and this is a self-perception, that if they don't think there's anything that's being added to the story, they'll lay out for a second. If folks want to continue telling the story in and of itself, they'll keep talking. I just think that it varies from region to region as to how they view the story being told.
But that's where I will disagree, and I think what I like about the more vocal style, I guess, is a big part of it is the inflection and capturing the feel of the match. Where, yeah, you're telling me what I see about a player coming across, dribbling across, etc. You might add in somebody doing something off the ball that my eye might not be going to. But you also might be telling it to me in a way that makes me understand the importance of it. Or the lack of importance of it.
Right.
It's about the way you say it as much as anything. And
no question.
I think that's a huge element, because you might watch it and not get that feel that, okay, this is really building up. This is starting to turn into a good opportunity. You might just be watching it and see a player moving forward. But if the announcer's displaying that urgency in their voice,
right,
then I think it has a different feel. So that's always been the way that we've leaned in general. Mike and I, for sure, when we've done streams, is do it a lot closer to a radio-style stream. I think it's the best way to go. I think it's a little bit of just my personal taste and Mike's and John's as well. But when you're dealing with streams too, you do have to accept that it's not a full TV broadcast and it might not be as clear. And also, when you're dealing with whether it's a training exercise where you're getting to know all the players and they don't have numbers anyway, or a college game or a high school game or even a USL game, not everybody watching is going to know everybody who's playing. You might need to give more so they understand it and then see it and get it. So that's just a little bit of our style conversations that happen. KFC said, could y'all tell the vaccination portion of the facility was ongoing? Yep. It was everywhere. Just, like signage and all that when we came in. It's cool they were able to do it. I mean, again, I think it's a leg up to be able to get in the building and get that experience and get a feel for it for all these new guys and for Gabriel Heinze and his staff. So it's a good thing. And, I mean, it was worth it. It was a little weird because, you didn't have all the bells and whistles of a normal game day. But just being able to do it was definitely worth it. A lot of conversation about the style of the broadcast. The other thing I'll tell you, too, as people are looking to try to find it now, well, it ended up being geo-blocked, which was not the plan going in. And it actually probably helps you a little bit that it is geo-blocked and that it is not available right now, because you would probably be very happy if you are a member of the coaching staff and this footage is not available to your rivals coming up on April 6th, a la Wallense.
Yep.
You're not going to give them a full tactical all 22 view here. The as little as possible that they get, the happier you're going to be.
No doubt.
So, yeah, that's part of it as well. It was a training exercise. It wasn't designed to be shown as a broadcast match. I think that's another point. It was, that's by design. I mean, there was introducing of players, and Mike and I would go a little bit deeper into backstory on guys and stuff. And, some of the cuts were not as sharp as you'd like it to be in those situations. That's going to happen. It's preseason. But also, it was a training exercise. It was designed to be treated as such, and it was designed to be an introduction for a lot of guys, and not a full broadcast that could then be used as scouting footage. That was not the idea. Definitely wasn't.
Were you in the TV booth or were you in your radio booth?
We were in the TV booth.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the TV booth. Okay, I'm going to stop the questions here. Shiva, you got the next one. We'll get some more on Twitter as well, but we are at the top of the hour, and that means John has to stretch, and then John has to tell us about our good friend in Decatur, Steve Apolinsky right now.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go, and it is Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. 3 different ways that you can have conversations with said firm. First one that I'll tell you about this go-around is the phone, 404-377-9191. Get a free consultation that way. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com, or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small, type in aa-legal.com, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the homepage for Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and you get the full history of the firm, what they're up to, what they can handle, and how well they can handle it. All the accolades are even available down lower on the homepage, so you can see how they have been recognized amongst the public. But if you still have questions, there's a pop-up window that pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. And maybe that could answer your question if it hadn't been answered previously. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in 2 time zones in Georgia and Alabama, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine as being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. It is Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
Could you hear it this time?
Yes, I could. That's why I was waiting for the tempo change.
Okay, I was just making sure, because you were a little bit of a diva last week about that. So,
Yes.
yes, you were. Yeah, you were. It's okay. It's okay.
I wanted to hear it so I could get my .com handle properly.
Making sure you had it, so there's no complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's happened before. All right. I have to pull up the chat in 2 different places so I can make sure I don't lose my spot before, because we've been discussing a lot of different things here. You got a 10.1 from Alex Pacine. He's trying to curry favor. Trying very hard. It was a bad weekend.
Nice.
It was a bad weekend.
Yes.
Not good. 8, Gap.com offline. Super fast start. Not bad, though. +0. Really slowed down in the middle, though. -1 for Whiplash. -1 for the timing at the end. 8 out of 10. Pretty good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
8.9, 8.7, a 7, 9.22. The Legal Elite would have fit in nicely during the accolades discussion. A -1 for that. A 7.
Circular.
I have no words. 5.3456 out of East Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely spectacular most of the way. A little weak, and the end 9.5.
Okay.
A 7. The dot was too lazy. The dot com, I'm assuming, at the end. It was a big gap.
Yeah, that's like I said. I was waiting for the tempo change in the stanza,
yeah,
so that was what was
a
going on.
large one. -1 for giving us a tour of the homepage. -1 missed time zone specifics, I think 7.6. Rotary phone +1. Rush to finish -1. Begrudgingly a 9. An 8. Little mechanical, but it's Monday. I'll give you a pass on that. 7.9. Extra 2 for the chin rub. An extra 2 for something else. A 9.65. Didn't take too much away, an 8 out of 10. That's really good. That's really, really good. Good job.
Wow.
Good job. The people are happy.
Well, we aims to please.
It's an Overreaction Monday. We got to do something to keep the people happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're saying the scores were overreactions?
No. I'm saying you did a good job and made people happy. Why are you looking for the negative here? Are you going into cynical John mode again? Or have you been listening to My Chemical Romance?
I would have to figure out where to find it to listen to it.
Why am I not surprised? Jeez.
Hey, look, when we get into On This Day, you'll probably be surprised there, too.
Anyway, Shiva asks about the match and about the style of play. Okay, I have a question. Should we expect a lot of winning the ball back midfield and up high and start the attack type of play? I noticed a lot of that and not allowing the opponent to reach our final third. Yeah, that's the idea, is you want to win the ball back as quickly as possible. Look, it's not complicated, really, in the way that this team wants to play. They want the ball. They will keep the ball. They will work possession. They want the ball. Gabriel Heinze has made it very, very clear in his statements about the way he sees the game. He doesn't want to watch the other team play. He wants the ball. He wants to be able to watch his team play with the ball. So when you don't have the ball, you have to make decisions. How fast do you want to win it back? How much risk do you want to take on to win it back? He answers both of those in the oh hell yes category. I want it back as fast as possible, and I will take all the risk to do it. Not every bit of risk, because he always wants a free man defensively. One free man defensively, that's what he wants. But yes, he wants the ball back, and he will have his team fight to win it back as fast as possible. And if you lose it up high, you're going to try to win it back there. If you lose it in the middle third, you're going to try to win it back there. So yeah, you're going to try to win the ball back quickly. What you saw at times, Tata Martino's teams did that some, and they also didn't do that some. I think pressing sometimes just gets lumped all into one bucket, and it's not the same thing, and it can be done different ways. Let's compare really fast the Red Bulls of New York, not Salzburg, not Leipzig, RB Leipzig, not Red Bull Leipzig, but we know the drill. Not those. Let's talk about New York Red Bulls and what we've seen from them historically and Atlanta United. The New York Red Bulls do not want the ball. You look at their possession numbers, it shows that. They don't care about having possession. The press is how they create opportunities. They go direct as fast as possible. They play into the other half as fast as possible. Not in control. They get there as fast as they can. If they don't win the ball there, that's fine. Then they immediately try to win it back, and they press you. The press is the playmaker. It's not about possession for them. Atlanta is in the going to be in the vein of Leeds, of Manchester City, of teams like that. Barcelona, a little bit lesser extent now under Koeman, but as you think of Barcelona in the Pep years, yes. Bayern Munich. Thomas Tuchel's a little more defensive, and he does it from a little bit different structure, but he's got elements of this. You want possession because you can control the game with possession. Number one. You lose the ball. You don't have possession. You want to win it back quickly. Okay, that's number two. What Atlanta will look a little bit more like a Leeds, although it will be not quite as reckless, is that they will take more chances to win it back. They won't drop deeper. They will, by the structure of the team, have those protections in place. They will be able to make sure you've got cover to win the ball back, and you can take those chances. It's always about a free man defensively. It's always about a free man defensively. Whereas Leeds and San Jose and some other teams, because San Jose wants the ball too. I should have mentioned them in this ballpark, because a lot of people look at Almeida as just a pressing guy, a 1v1 guy. It's not quite that simple. He wants the ball. His teams have had a lot of the ball in San Jose. It's about how you win it back. San Jose will take huge risks to win it back and leave guys 1v1. Atlanta won't do that. They'll always want somebody free defensively, but they're going to try to win the ball back as high up the field as they possibly can. Sorry about that. They will try to win the ball back quickly. So, yeah, they're going to do it high up the field. They're not going to drop. Frank de Boer got to a point, and I think some of it's down to the personnel he had, that he wanted his team to drop deeper and not risk committing to a counter press to win the ball back up high. I think he was concerned that his team would get beat if they didn't win that there. And I think he was right, to be perfectly honest. We saw it early in 2019. The team he had to do things a little bit differently. This team has some different pieces to it, and they're not going to do it that way. They don't want to drop. They want to win the ball back up high. They want to have cover if the press is beaten, but they don't want to drop. They don't want the automatic thing, you lose possession, to drop. They want the automatic thing to step forward. That's what they're looking for. The automatic thing when you lose the ball is to go play faster, condense the space, get tighter. That's what Gabriel Heinze is going to want. So look for that this season. Burned asked about Charleston. They are in USL Championship. They haven't dropped to USL League One. I still wouldn't be surprised if they do in the coming years, but also, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Championship and League One are more linked together. And if it's a pro rel situation or whatever, you still got to build out League One. They could drop because they'd have a lot of nearby opponents to play, which would be a good fit for them. But they haven't yet. They're still, I mean, they were third day of anything for the season was on Saturday. I think they had about 8 trialists. A lot of familiar faces back with them, but also some new faces. They brought in a couple of new players from the Caribbean. It feels like a typical Charleston team. We'll see what Mike Anhauser can bring together. They were good last year. They were in a group with Tampa Bay who was better, and I think Charleston was good. Charleston actually gave Tampa Bay problems. So they're still competitive at this level. I just think from a business perspective, it's hard for them because they're in a smaller market. So they might drop down to League One because they'd be with more similar-sized markets. But we'll see what happens. Right now, they're still a USL Championship team. DM Tim, glad you enjoyed it. It was kind of weird. Jams, thanks for watching. I mean, it was definitely a different one. I'd never called a joint training exercise, and it's hard to call a game without numbers. Like, we didn't recognize Bauer for a little while, I'm sure you could tell, because we hadn't seen him. We hadn't seen him, so we had to make sure we knew who it was. Robbie Mertz was another one. We hadn't seen him. We had to make sure we knew who he was when he came on for a little bit. Karen Hell says, the team played the highest of lines. The center backs were on the opposite half. Yep. They did that as much as possible, but they had cover, and Charleston wasn't able to exploit it. You'll see teams that can exploit it by dropping that ball in over the top of the center backs. That's where Robinson and others are going to have to drop in. That's also where your goalkeepers are going to have to come out. That's going to be very important. But yeah, they're going to play a very, very high line. DM Tim, before we go back to Twitter, what did you think of Heinemann? I thought Heinemann had about 4 or 5 blocked shots, first off. It felt like he was getting in good opportunities, but he couldn't get his shot off. That's the spot that I think has the most competition. I think it's Heinemann. I think it's Hosechu. I think, we saw Barco in that role, and we saw Moreno out wide. That could get flip-flopped at different points. I think Mo Adams will come into that conversation. We saw Franco Ibarra in that spot, and Ibarra is going to play it so dramatically different than Heinemann will, because Ibarra is more disruptive. If you're able to press with him up higher, you can see some tackles flying in from Franco Ibarra, and that's a good thing. But he's not going to be as comfortable in the final third as Emerson Heinemann is. And we saw that early last season. Some of it's going to depend on what the opponent is doing or can do and how they can hurt you or where they can be exploited. So that role feels like the most up for grabs in my book, is who plays centrally with Sosa. And it's looking like Barco. And maybe it's going to be Moreno at times, but it's looking like Barco. And look, that role looked like it suited Ezequiel Barco to a T. He was very influential in his time on the pitch. So who will be the best member of that trio? There might not be a dedicated one. It might move around depending on the opponent. But I thought Heinemann was okay. I just think he couldn't get his shot off. He was getting in good spots. He just couldn't get his shot off consistently. Thomas Jewin, I agree. Brooks Lennon scored 2 goals. Not having VAR sucks. We tried to wave it down. They didn't want to listen to us. What else we got on Twitter, John?
Take a towel and just throw it down onto the field for
totally.
its own review.
Totally.
The Airborne DJ came in with his grade of my read.
Oh, what'd you get?
From the top of the hour. He says, for me, I can't hear any difference in the music bed and what you always wait for on the .com. Just say it. 6.5.
Sounds about right.
And then the substitutions topics really has triggered with folks this morning.
Good. I like it.
Bartimus Prime says, I was thinking about the subs rule yesterday while I was refereeing. I think a good resolution could be 4 subs allowed at 3 stoppages of play, not including the end of a half. Add an additional sub and opportunity for extra time.
Isn't that where we are now?
5 subs, 3 bricks, right?
Yeah. And halftime doesn't count as a sub opportunity. You can do that if you want. Right.
Yeah. So Bart is saying just go to 4 subs. If you had
go to 4 and okay, and do that.
Go to 4 with 3 bricks as opposed to the.
I'm fine with the compromise if it's 4. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, I'm better with more subs than 3. I'm better with that now, and we'll see how people feel about it. The smaller clubs feel like they'd be at a disadvantage. That's been the general conversation about this. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what people have generally said. So could go either way on it. I don't think it makes as much of a difference. I think the smaller clubs could use that to their advantage as well if they use the subs tactically, because I don't know if a lot of managers have really used it in that manner. They should. You know, if you're able to run somebody fresh in at halftime, even if you just wanted to do the absolute simple thing, run 2 guys in fresh at halftime to play the second 45 against more tired legs, and then you have your normal sub opportunities, do that. I think there's smaller teams that could benefit from it. So.
And then Chris Hutchison says he would also add a rule that would allow for substitution beyond the 5 for the goalkeeper for a severe injury because of the specialization of that particular position. So Chris would go 5 plus a keeper emergency.
You would have to really define it because that rule got wiped out. You used to be able to sub the keeper separately, and that rule got wiped out when Bob Bradley made a mockery of it in MLS in like 2003. Where Eddie Gavin subbed in as a goalkeeper to get the extra sub. Like, I think what they did, if I remember correctly, and this is all over YouTube, you can go find it really easily.
I think I remember seeing this once. Yeah.
I think what he did is Tim Howard was the goalkeeper before he moved to Europe. I think he swapped with somebody and became a field player for a minute. Then they subbed the goalkeeper. Eddie Gavin came on and became the goalkeeper for however long he had to be in goal until they could then swap back to Tim Howard becoming the goalkeeper again, which wasn't a sub. Like, you know, swapping positions on the field, not a sub, but they had to move somebody into goal to sub them out to bring on Eddie Gavin to use the extra sub for goalkeepers, and I think Gavin ended up winning the game, and everybody lost their minds.
Right.
So, yeah, it'd have to be like the concussion situation where it would have to be approved by somebody independent, which I'm okay with if you do that. I'm okay with it. It really rarely comes up, to be honest, but you know, maybe once a season it comes up in a league, maybe twice. I wouldn't have a problem with that rule, though. That'd be fine if they wanted to go down that road.
And then Chris follows it up by saying that he listens to the show for the historical perspective.
We try occasionally. We try to go old school at times. Sam Williamson asked, how did Alex DeJohn do? I thought he was fine. I mean, the defenders, it's so hard to read because they didn't have much defending to do. So on the ball, he was fine, as you would expect. He didn't have a whole lot to really do to impact the game. He was fine. Let's see. What is the shirt you are rocking, Kefsey asks.
You or me?
You.
Atlanta Apollos.
Yes.
This is the Atlanta Apollos shirt. I got it from our friends at Ultras. And as the patron saint of all things ancient, old, dead, or small, this was one that I couldn't resist.
1973 North American Soccer League. They were a completely separate team than the Chiefs. I think a lot of people thought the Chiefs changed their name. The Chiefs went out of business, and the Apollos bought the NASL rights to the city. The Chiefs were owned by the Braves. The Apollos were owned by the Hawks and the Flames. That's why you see the logo. It kind of has that Hawk Flame Omni Group kind of feel because that's what it was. They played at Grant Field, Bobby Dodd Stadium. It didn't really work out very well. The league was also not in a great spot in 1973. It was pre-Pele. And they only lasted the 1 year, and they just really didn't know what to do with it. One thing that's interesting is they thought the NASL was going to bring indoor soccer in earlier than they did because having the Omni, they were very excited about that aspect of it, and they played Montreal. I think Montreal at that time was the Olympique. I think they played them a couple of times in like indoor friendlies, and they were still figuring out the rules and kind of tweaking things and testing things. They did those at the Omni. The first indoor games in Atlanta were in 73 with the Apollos. But I do remember when they decided to shut it down after the season, I can't remember who said it. I think he was the president of the Omni Group, by default president of the Apollos. He said something like, I think it's clearly obvious that I have, no time or energy to run a professional soccer team right now, or something like that. It's like, okay, You could have just said we're going out of business, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And it didn't come back until 79 with the Chiefs when Dick Cecil and Thornwell bought the Colorado Caribous. The Caribous, yes, that was their name.
Yes, the Caribous of Colorado.
Well, Caribous is not actually a word.
I know. It's like the caribou is both a singular and a plural.
They were the Caribous of Colorado, and they were purchased and brought to Atlanta. And Ted Turner was behind it, and then Turner needed the money to start a little thing called CNN, and he pulled out, and the Chiefs went away after 3 years.
The Caribous of Colorado, that was a jersey.
No, that was stupid.
Oh, the fringe that
was stupid.
Or whatever you want to call it. But
it was like cowboy fringe, and I think they walked out on the field wearing cowboy hats, and it was absurd.
Yeah.
It was absurd.
Wow. Made me think of Greg Majeski all of a sudden.
Nobody would have any idea what you're talking about.
So,
maybe a couple people. I'm sorry.
Part of the Caribous of Colorado that came over to be a part of the Atlanta Chiefs.
Thank you. A lot of people talking about Franco Ibarra. Not that he did anything remotely worthy of one, but that's my point. His card rate is ridiculous. That's not ridiculous, Thomas Chewin. That's a little bit of an overstatement. He is a robust tackler, let's say. He led the Copa Diego Armando Maradona in tackles, in successful tackles, over 4 per game, which is a lot. He's disruptive. He's active defensively. I don't think by any stretch he's reckless. I don't think he's ever seen a tackle that he didn't like, and he's going to throw himself into them. He'll pick up cards. He will. But it's not ridiculous. It's not that bad. I'll slow down a little bit. Let's see. A lot of talk about subs going on. A lot of talk about managing Joseph's minutes. Maybe it comes down to the surface, bad pitch or turf, etc. There's lots of things that can factor into it. Just we haven't been told anything yet that there would be a reason to worry about it. That's all. We will get into stuff from around the world as well because there's a lot of that. Xabi Alonso potentially going to Borussia Mönchengladbach. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Juve. We'll talk about Manchester United. We will talk about Barcelona. Very nice. We'll talk about Newcastle. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. Yes, region restrictions, not fun. That is an MLS thing. That is not an Atlanta United thing. There are a lot of clubs around the league who are not happy with this, a lot of fans, a lot of journalists. That is, for some reason, an MLS thing. I don't understand the logic behind it in preseason either. But that's a league thing. There's nothing you can do. The team tried a lot of different things to be able to not have this geo-blocked, but ultimately they weren't able to do it. Just how it was. No, Thomas Chewin, Mike did not get his vaccine while he was there. That would have been really entertaining. That would have been a nice doubleheader. That did not happen. The geo-block will protect our secrets, J-Dub. That is 100% correct. Some people are talking about how you can do things to still see games that you're maybe not supposed to see.
VPN.
I didn't say anything. I'm not saying anything. I know nothing. Okay. I think that gets us up to where everything is. So let's run around the world really quick. That did not get us anywhere near where everything was, but I'm skipping ahead. I'm sorry. You guys are very verbose today on the Twitch pitch, which is a good thing. Let's get into a basic jump around what's happened over the weekend in the game. We're going to leave the MLS stuff to the side for a minute. US U23s won 4-0. It was not a good first half. It was a pretty good second half. They are into the semifinals where they have to win a semifinal to go to the Olympics. Mexico beat Costa Rica 3-0. Mexico, if they draw with the U.S., will finish first in the group. That would mean the U.S. would play whoever wins the other group. They play their second games today. Canada is probably the favorite in the other group. Honduras is right there as well. I think the U.S. should beat either one of those teams. It doesn't really matter. You do want to beat Mexico. Jason Kreis has said that, but I don't think you do it at the expense of running guys into the ground for that semifinal, because everything comes down to the semifinal. That's all that matters. Kreis said that the team was overly cautious against the Dominican Republic. His quote about it, the picture that they were presenting to us was extremely defensive. 5 players in the back, nobody releasing in wide spaces, and both of our fullbacks were extremely hesitant about going forward. So it just didn't add up or make any sense, talking about the first half. We needed to get those players really high. We needed to be looking for wide combinations. Yep. You had chances in the first half. You weren't converting. So I think there was an overreaction to the first half. You got it done. You win 4-0. I mean, you're not being graded like you guys grade John on his reads here. You're being graded on the win, and you got it. So, okay. I think what we've seen is Hassani Dotson looked good here coming off the bench. Djordje Mihailovic looked good coming off the bench. You need to figure out this midfield, and maybe that's one of the biggest things for Jason Kreis. I liked Kessler in the back. I thought he gave you security. But you need to figure out the midfield. You had 3 guys who have similar characteristics on the field in this one, Pereira and Johnny and Jackson Ewell. I wouldn't mind seeing somebody else centrally. You don't really have, and people get hung up on a 10 here. The way this US U23 team is going to look is kind of the same mentality we've talked about with Atlanta United. You're not playing a 6, an 8, and a 10. Where it's like they're each on their own island and they do different things. You're not playing that way. You're going to play one holding midfielder. You're going to play 2 central midfielders in front. Would you like one of them to be able to be creative? Sure, but that creativity can come from a wide position too. And Djordje Mihailovic, I think, is a prime example. He started his career as a 10. 10s aren't really used in the same way anymore. Now he brings you that creativity from a wider position. That's fine. That's completely fine. It's all about the way the collective works. But you needed a little bit more of that here. I think Benji Michel can give you that as well. It just wasn't as good as it needed to be early on. Kreis is right. They didn't get numbers forward. They weren't as risky. They could have risked more in the first half because the Dominican Republic was sitting back. Credit to the Dominican Republic. They've looked better in these 2 games than I expected. They've been competitive. That's good. That's a good sign for CONCACAF. But the U.S. should have taken care of it a little bit sooner. It really wasn't that much heartburn. You're fine. Mexico will be a test, but everything's about the semifinal. Everything is about the semifinal. You have to win the semifinal. Nothing else matters. You beat Mexico and lose the semifinal, I don't care. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you at all.
No, I mean, obviously there was the chance in the first half. I want to say it was in the 27th where Johnny had the header that was right on. A lot of folks were saying that should have been put away for your first goal. And then you had chances in the late 40s and the early 50s, and it just seemed like in that second half that momentum was kind of rolling for you downhill. And then you got the goal in the 60th, and then you had 3 that were 17 minutes apart. You had the 2 assists from Mihailovic on the Dotson goals, and then Mihailovic got his own in the 90th. I know that there was the injury concern late when Mihailovic crashed into the keeper, and I haven't heard anything different, whether it was shoulder, elbow, anything like that. Haven't heard any injury updates coming out of the tournament or anything. But the Mexico match yesterday, the goal that stood out to me was their third one, which was a great transition goal. It was a shot on, distribution was quick, got it out to the wings, got down there quickly, and you had some players kind of drift toward one player where they thought the ball was going to go, and it went a different direction. It was a very, very good piece of transition for Mexico, and that to me is what you're looking out for if you're keeping an eye on Mexico as you're heading toward this match for the United States.
I'm confused as to what they did. How did they get the team thinking that the ball was going one way and then they go the other way? What did they do?
It was positional gravity. You're sitting there and you're thinking that the pass is going to go one way. And it was like a 3-on-3 heading down from left to right, and the ball is on the near side. And the defenders are kind of focused more on thinking the ball was going to be passed to one guy, and it ended up going to another guy entirely. So their diagnosis was wrong.
That's really bad defending if that's the case. That's horrible.
Their diagnosis
defending.
was incorrect.
Well, no, it
was a good transitional opportunity. The lightning quick chance for Mexico. So that's what stood out for me.
Okay, that's horrible defending. I hope they weren't thinking that. That's not good. I think Costa Rica's defending is a little bit better than that. We had a good conversation on the Discord yesterday during the latter stages of the U.S. game. Bernd Erzberger and I were going round and round about it. I think we're on the same page. Like the idea of where the U.S. program is, it's in a good place. There's really not a lot to complain about right now because you have young talent coming through in places that you've never had it, like Serginho Dest with 2 goals yesterday. Gio Reyna, Christian Pulisic, Yunus Musa. I mean, we can go on and on and on. This is nowhere near the best U23 team for the U.S. It's not even close. It's because you don't have any of those European guys. You don't even have all of your best guys out of MLS. It's a team that you could put together for this. And the reason why it's not the best team is the fact that you have better players than you've ever had before who are playing in places that they can't be spared right now. They're too important. In the past, you might get somebody who was in a youth team for a second division German club who was available. Now you got guys who are playing significant minutes. They're not available. So it's a C or a D team, a B, C. I mean, you put whatever grade on it you want. It doesn't matter. So you have more talent than you've ever had. You're starting to develop a way of playing. We talked about it with Kreis. It is a 4-3-3. There are positional play elements to it. You're seeing that with the first team, with Greg Berhalter. It is coming together well. However, now you're getting to where the rubber meets the road. And coming together well is nice. Jason Kreis has to win a semifinal to get this team to the Olympics. No question. If he doesn't, it's a failure. And it has to be graded as such. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean the program is in a bad place. It doesn't mean that the progress is bad. It means that the job Jason Kreis did in the semifinal was not good enough because he lost and the team got eliminated from the Olympics. Just like Bruce Arena, his bad performance in Trinidad and Tobago doesn't mean he's a bad coach. Doesn't mean his legacy is completely wiped out. It means he had a bad day and a bad tactical plan and they lost and they missed out on the World Cup. The U.S. has to get past the idea of, we played well, that's good enough. It's like, no, you have to play well. You have to have the right ideas. And you have to win. And you have to get into competitions. Don't have to go win the World Cup. Don't have to go win the Olympics, but you got to qualify. There's no reason why the U.S. should not be qualifying. The talent gap, and that's when the question comes up about, who do you want to play out of the other group? It shouldn't matter. Even with this group for the U.S., it shouldn't matter. It should not matter. They should be able to take care of business against anybody from the other group. Mexico's the best team here because it's pretty close to an A Mexican team because it's, I think, all domestic, and the Federation and the league are in lockstep about letting those guys leave their clubs and go play. That was the decision that they've made because they're all working together in that way. I mean, you think MLS runs U.S. soccer, go talk to the Mexican Federation about this and see how far that goes. Because they literally do run it. Like, period. That's how it is. They vote on everything. The team owners vote on everything involving the Federation. That doesn't happen in the United States at all. That's a fallacy. The program's headed in the right direction. It's incredible progress. The end of the Klinsmann era was the program was in a bad place. It couldn't go anywhere until you hired somebody new. Arena was temporary to get you to the World Cup. He failed in that job. Dave Sarachan did a lot of good things. He played a lot of young players. For a caretaker, he did it the right way. He didn't worry about himself. He didn't try to just go win a bunch of games to boost his record up for his next job. He did the right things for the program. He got a lot of guys experience. Dave Sarachan needs to get really thanked for that. But when you brought in Greg Berhalter, he came in with a vision. You saw it in Columbus. They played good soccer. Tata Martino talked about it. Pretty much every manager around the league talked about it. They have a good philosophy about the game. It's a philosophy that suits American players. It's good. My issue with Greg Berhalter is actually really short-term. It was when he took over and he was trying to do a little bit too much tactically. Not about the vision, just the tactics. Like the whole thing about moving the right back inside to play centrally and like forcing it on players. It didn't really suit Tyler Adams. It definitely didn't suit Nick Lima. It wasn't necessary. It was a little too much. And he's adjusted. And I think the wake-up call for him was the poor performances going into the Gold Cup in 2019. He corrected it, and they had a good Gold Cup. They got to the final. Mexico was better. They're closing that gap. This is a really good U.S. team, and it's not just good talent. They have a good way of playing that suits the talent. He's still got to get them qualified for the World Cup. The direction is great for the program, 100%. And there finally is one. And it's not just, we've got some good players, let's just go play. It's, we're going to play in this way because it's the right way to play, and it suits our players, and we can get results with it. Now you've got to get the results because vision, direction, all good. You don't qualify for the Olympics again? No. You don't qualify for the World Cup again? No.
Mm-mm.
No. The direction won't go bad if you don't qualify. The coaching will be the problem if you don't qualify, because then it will come down to tactics. You have to win. You have to get these things done. They have the talent to. I think there's no excuses anymore. So that's just where it goes. And that's the balancing act for big teams anywhere, whether it's a club or a national team. You want to play the right way. You want to build a direction that will serve the program well. You also have to win. You just have to win. And Jason Kreis is about to be in that spot now with a match in the semifinal. The Mexico game, the result doesn't matter. He's got to manage it properly, because if, let's say, they get blown out, he's got to lift the team back up to win a semifinal. Let's say they win. He's got to make sure they don't get too high, because it really doesn't matter. It's about the semifinal. He's got to manage that. He gets them to the Olympics, he's done a good job. That's what it's going to come down to. The direction is good. There's nothing to worry about there. This is a good thing. But he's got to get them to the Olympics, or he's failed. There's just no way around it. Greg Berhalter's got to qualify for the World Cup, or he's failed. There's no way around it.
Tafka did a deep dive over the weekend, and I've retweeted it, where he compared the Mexican Olympic squad and the United States Olympic squad. And getting into what you were discussing, where Liga MX is in control of rosters and things, Mexico, and this is from Tafka, with the exception of maybe 6 excluded players, Mexico's Olympic squad is a fair representation of the best squad they could create, even without age restrictions, a B squad. And Tafka he prefaces what he said by, it's not an excuse against Mexico. It's more just so a demonstration of how Olympic hurdles affected each team in comprising its rosters. He says for the United States, it's absolutely not the case for the U.S. Lots of great youth prospects, but probably a D squad at best.
That's a little harsh, but yeah, it's not A. That's all that matters. It's just not the A squad. It's just what it is. But it's still a better squad than I think anybody else in the tournament outside of Mexico. So they should qualify. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
Bern, this is kind of a given. I'm not saying anything opposite from this. Bern says you can have the right direction and also apply the correct tactics in important games. It's not mutually exclusive. Of course not. No, because then you wouldn't have the right direction if you can't apply the right tactics to win games. No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is if they have the right direction, if Jason Kreis has done what he's done up to this point, and he loses the semifinal to an inferior team, he's failed. There's no way you can't argue that he's done a good job if he doesn't qualify for the Olympics. I don't think it's possible to give him a pass on that. If Greg Berhalter does not qualify for the World Cup out of CONCACAF, he's failed. There's no way around it. Doesn't change that the direction is good. But the direction doesn't win games. You have to have the right tactics in games to win games too. The direction doesn't do it by itself. It can against much inferior competition, which you're going to face some, because you're going to have good players. You're going to have a right style. All that's there. But at this level, and for the U.S., it's not okay just to have the right direction. It's just not. You've got to win things. And all I'm asking from the U.S. program here is Jason Kreis has got to win a semifinal to get to the Olympics. I don't care what you do at the Olympics. You need to get there. Love for you to get out of the group. We don't know what the draw would be. No clue. You got to get there. Job one. Greg Berhalter, I don't care. I don't have the expectations that others do. Like, it's get out of the group no matter what. If you don't get out of the group in the World Cup, you failed. No, I don't even have that. You just got to qualify. it'll be a formality in the 48-team World Cup, I think, unless they do combine South America and North America. Then it's a different conversation. But in this one, if the U.S. doesn't qualify ahead of Costa Rica, Honduras, Canada, Jamaica, go on and on through CONCACAF, if they don't qualify ahead of that with the talent they have, then it is a failure. There is no way to justify it otherwise. The direction of the program, the direction of American soccer is very good, and that's not all down to the national team coach either. But it's very good, and that's not going to go away whether they qualify or not. It's going to continue to build. But you're going to be judged by if you qualify or not, and you just have to. You have to. There's just no way around it. You have to get the tactics right in those games to qualify. And you can't sacrifice qualification over anything. Not anymore with this. You have to. You're muted, John. Good job.
Monday. That's what happens when you're trying to do 9 things at once. Okay, senior team news that came out this morning for those that missed it for the match against Northern Ireland on Sunday. Nicholas Gioacchini is back on the national team roster for both March matches. Gio Reyna, Chris Richards, Josh Sargent will be allowed to travel to face Northern Ireland on Sunday from the men's national team. The news is a result of updated quarantine protocols in their respective areas.
Yeah, the result of pressure as well from different situations. The French league structure realized that preventing players from going to join national teams, mostly hurting African nations, was going to look very bad. And they said, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that. There's also been a U-turn where Bayern announced that Lewandowski and David Alaba would be able to join their national teams due to that change in Germany's COVID-19 restrictions. So there's pressure. There's also changes to the restrictions. Maybe the restrictions are changing due to pressure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these lineups, these rosters are going to be totally in flux today, especially as you see things change.
And that catches us up on Twitter one more time.
All right, Johannes really likes Soto. I'm right there with Johannes on that. I like Soto too. I think he is the forward out of this group in Guadalajara that has the most promise. He's got to have service, and you didn't get that consistently last night. But yeah, I think he's the guy. He feels different. I'm with you on that. He's the one that I think will be the biggest jump. Karan Hell says, what would it take for the league teams to fully support the national team like the Mexican clubs? They do, and I think it's unfair to expect them to do otherwise. The Mexican clubs, because they have a share of everything because of the way the federation's structured, yeah, they want to qualify for the Olympics because I'm sure there's financial considerations when it comes to that. The MLS clubs don't have that. They have their own financial considerations. And you take Atlanta, for example. Like, you didn't see European teams allowing players to come play in this event. Not very often. There's probably a couple of guys in this tournament who did. But you weren't going to release a player who was playing at a time. Like, you're not going to release Sergiño Dest from Barcelona. You're not going to say, oh, yeah, you go play there instead of scoring 2 goals against Real Sociedad. Nobody's hammering Barcelona about it. Like, it's the nature of a youth competition. It just is. The Mexican league and teams all work together in this. They've got specific rules in the competition about playing young players and playing homegrown players, and because it's all in sync. That'll never happen here because people think MLS run the federation as it is, and they don't, to the point that now you've created this back and forth about players not being released, and MLS teams are getting crushed for it, but they somehow run the federation too. Like, it's not going to happen because it's two different worlds. Where you have competitions going on during team activities, you're going to have these situations happen. Competitive games with the senior national team, you can't turn that down. That's a FIFA mandate. Until FIFA mandates, like, yes, for that same situation, for a qualification tournament at a youth level, you have to release players when they're called up. Well, then it's going to change because then Barcelona would have to release Sergiño Dest in these situations too. So until that happens, MLS teams didn't do anything wrong here, in my opinion. I think they generally have. I mean, look at some of these players that were released. You know, I mean, some of these MLS teams would like to have them in camp to prepare for the season, but they let them go. Not every club's in the same situation. The one for Atlanta, and nobody's really brought it up in this sense for me, is that it's a new manager, and 3 of the 4 starting on the back line were called up. You can't implement a system with 3 of your 4 on the back line not there, and then you're trying to get the other one in and get that done. So you would have none of your starting back line in camp for weeks before you get ready for your first game.
Mm-hmm.
That would be unfair to Atlanta going into a competitive match in CONCACAF, which one of the things that the league and the federation want to see MLS teams do is win the CONCACAF Champions League. So that's the balancing act. Just no way around it.
Yeah, and that was the thing for me. It's like, had these players gone, you would have had no one at the back to get a system implemented with a new coach as you're getting ready for CONCACAF, and it's just like, it's like you got to focus on you, and that just means that in this particular case, your guys have to stay home.
Yeah, there's just no way around it. You can't always balance the club game and the club's needs and desires with the national team games and needs and desires. There's going to be conflicts at times. You need to work them out as best as you can, but there's just going to be conflicts. There's just no way around it. And MLS teams shouldn't be looked at as lesser than. It's fortunate for Mexico that most of their U23 talent plays in Mexico. So they're able to make that happen. But their U23 talent that would be playing overseas wouldn't be available, just like others wouldn't. So it's just the nature of it. If you're not playing at that club, if you're on the roster but you're with the reserves or you're on the bench, yeah, they might let you go.
Yeah.
But if you're playing, you're not going to go. Serginho Dest is not going to miss the Real Sociedad match to go play for the US U23s. No. It's a good thing he didn't. He had 2 goals. Played very well. That 3-5-2 that they are playing with him in a wing-back role, it's really suiting him. It's really suiting the team right now. Barcelona's only dropped 2 points in 2021, 37 out of 39. And they're going to make it really difficult for Atleti at the top of the table. Atleti, huge penalty save at the end of that match from Jan Oblak. That keeps them 4 points clear at the top of the table. That would have brought it down to 2 points. Probably. There would have still been a few minutes left. But they're feeling the pressure from Barcelona. Real Madrid is 6 points off of the top with Atleti on 66. Barca's on 62. Real Madrid on 60. Sevilla is on 55. It's a 10-point drop back to Real Sociedad, who's in the 5th spot. I think that's your top 4. That's your Champions League teams out of Spain. I don't think the title's decided yet. I think Barcelona can really have a say here. And it's a credit to Ronald Koeman. It's a credit to a guy that has been kind of maligned all season long by the local media, by the presidential candidates running, talking about replacing him the day they get elected. I mean, stuff like that. The guy's done the job. The guy's flat out done the job. So he's got them in a great position. They could win the La Liga title. And that'd be an incredible feat for Ronald Koeman if he can pull that off. Absolutely.
May the 9th, Barcelona Atleti with 3 matches to go after that. That's the one that I'm going to circle.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Let's talk a little bit more about the leagues before we get into the national teams, come back to MLS and finish today at some point. The Xabi Alonso conversation, Christian Falk of Bild had this first. And remember, Christian Falk's Twitter account, and Byrne pointed this out, his Twitter account goes a little tabloidy. This has been backed up by others, too. It's not just Christian Falk saying it. But when you see, what is his Twitter account now? I can't remember. I want to say like FC Bayern or something. He's one of the editors at Bild, but he goes for the Skip Bayless might not be fair, but he goes for the tabloid kind of approach. And he makes big claims, and not all of them pan out here. Yeah. But Xabi Alonso, the agreement has been reached according to the reports. He'll be joining the club in June. He is the B team manager at Real Sociedad. He played for Bayern Munich, trying to get Real Sociedad's B team promoted into the 2nd division. They're in the 3rd division. They top their group right now. His name had not come up until this morning. It had been Erik ten Hag, whose name had come up from Ajax. Jesse Marsch's name had come up with this. Derek Ray tweeted earlier before we got started that Gladbach hadn't confirmed anything at that point. I don't think they've confirmed anything since we've been on the air, have they?
Nope, haven't seen anything.
Jesse Marsch, according to Derek Ray, may decide that his best strategic move for now is to stay at Red Bull Salzburg. Remember, Celtic has been mentioned as well. Marsch going to Gladbach when the Leipzig job might come up in the next few months, because Nagelsmann's going to go somewhere. I mean, things get weird, he goes to Bayern. Okay, if he's been mentioned with Real Madrid, that job might be open this summer. He's been mentioned with moves to England as well. Who knows what happens there? If Nagelsmann leaves, Derek Ray feels like Jesse Marsch is in the frame to go to RB Leipzig. Now, there are the questions, and this goes back to the whole conundrum I think we've talked about for the last hour or so. Red Bull has their way of playing. Jesse Marsch has his philosophy. It's a good philosophy. I think he's a good manager. But in big games, he has come up short. There's no way around that. They've failed to get out of the group stage. They've come up short. They're the best team in Austria. They should win the Austrian league, no questions. Okay, they've done that. So he's done that. He's won cups there. Okay, he's done that. Good. European competition, he's come up short. His time in MLS, playoffs, he came up short. He's got to win big games. Has he done enough to get the RB Leipzig job? I don't know. That's going to be part of the conversation, I would assume. But he does have to think strategically. You know, if he wanted to push for the Mönchengladbach job, would that be the right approach for him? Would waiting out to see what happens with Leipzig be a better approach for him? It possibly could. Would going to Celtic be a better approach for him? It'd be kind of similar to what he has now, but a little more competition, at least one other top team to deal with. But you'd still be measured a lot by what you do in Europe. He'd have, I think, more resources to work with at Celtic. It's kind of a unique spot, but if he's wanting to go to the Bundesliga, he should stay where he's at, wait for the right opportunity in the Bundesliga. If he's wanting to go to England, going to Celtic might not be a bad idea. Jesse Marsch is going to be an interesting name from now through the summer, because I think there will be other jobs that will be linked with him as well. This one, Xabi Alonso, I recommend going to the Coach's Voice website. There's a really good masterclass with him where he talked about the role that he played for Pep Guardiola at Bayern. He's also played under Jose Mourinho, so you talk about those two being the two heads of the tables when it comes to, you know, modern management, and they're seen as direct opposites. Xabi Alonso's played for both, and he's probably learned a lot from both. I've liked what he's had to say about the way he sees the game. He's doing a good job at Sociedad. If he's going to get Real Sociedad's B team back into the second division, that's an accomplishment. It's what Pep did before he moved on to the first team at Barcelona. I didn't really expect Xabi Alonso to make his first senior job be in the Bundesliga, but it kind of fits. It kind of makes sense. He spent his time there. I think he has a pretty good grasp of German. He was one of the players at Bayern coming from the outside who learned it pretty quickly. I'd love to see how this pans out. I would really love to see how it pans out. I have high hopes for it. If this is the way it goes, I will be watching Borussia Mönchengladbach pretty closely next year.
And for those who want to follow, Christian Falk is at CF Bayern.
CF Bayern. Okay, there we go. I had it mixed up. Yes, if you want your tabloidish takes from Bild, he's the one to follow. Bayern Munich, speaking of them, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said that Hansi Flick is not going anywhere. He said, I told him we are very satisfied with him. We are well advised to finish what we have agreed in the contract. I told Hansi that in no uncertain terms. This has nothing to do with probability. That is a fact. Jogi Löw mentioned Hansi Flick as a potential candidate to replace him. Hansi Flick was asked about that. He said it hasn't changed anything about the whole thing. There's nothing more to say about that. He's under contract until 2023 at Bayern. Rummenigge said that the DFB, the German Federation, had confirmed they don't want to appoint a coach who is already at a club. That would rule out Nagelsmann. That would rule out Flick. That would rule out Klopp. So who does the DFB appoint at the end of the Euros? We'll have to wait and see. But Hansi Flick, according to Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, he ain't going anywhere. We'll see how all this pans out. A number on Bayern that is insane. Robert Lewandowski, 35 goals by himself. That's not even the insane part, John. You're already giggling.
Well, it was at 32 matches, 35 games, or 35 goals?
That's not even the insane part.
So what's the insane part, sir?
You want to pair up any duo in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Duo. Lewandowski's not a duo. He's by himself. You pair up any duo in the top 5 leagues, nobody's got more goals than Lewandowski does by himself. Lukaku, Lautaro Martinez, 33. Messi and Griezmann, 31. Mbappe and Moise Kean, 31. Harry Kane and Son, 30. Ronaldo Morata, 30. Robert Lewandowski, solo, 35. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
That is absolutely nuts. Speaking of Cristiano Ronaldo, he was not happy after Juventus lost to Benevento. Crazy. And now you're starting to get the conversation about Andrea Pirlo. And you talk about big jobs that could be open. Juventus could be one that is open. La Stampa in Italy revealed the high tension in the Juventus dressing room and a confrontation between owner Andrea Agnelli and coach Andrea Pirlo. I hope this is on the Amazon Prime Video, by the way. They lose 1-0 to Benevento. The Turin-based newspaper La Stampa reveals the anger and bitterness that exploded after the final whistle.
Exploded.
Yes, John. Juventus sits 10 points behind Inter now. Inter didn't play on the weekend because they have some COVID issues. Tutto Sport claims that Pirlo will be assessed over the remaining games, can't afford a similar setback during the run-in. Fans reacted, hitting out at the coach, hitting out at Juventus management. La Stampa reported of shouting and insults coming from the Juventus dressing room after the match, confirming the high level of tension at the old lady.
Well-constructed sentences there for all of the emotion that's going on right now at Juventus.
It's not good. It's not good right now. Dr. D and J-Dub are trying to figure out where Cristiano Ronaldo goes after Juventus. He might not go anywhere. There might not be anybody who comes in. Juventus is in a weird spot because, and again, it's funny how sometimes things just keep overlapping. You go back to the idea about a philosophy, the idea about a direction. I thought Juventus made it clear when they hired Maurizio Sarri last year that they were going in a different direction than Max Allegri and going in a different direction than the way the team had played previously. Well, they got scared just like Chelsea did, and they got rid of Sarri after 1 year. Maybe he's too difficult to deal with. Maybe he smokes too many cigarettes. I don't know. He's not there. So they go still in a direction with a young manager, his first job, Andrea Pirlo. Legendary player. That only goes so far. But there's an idea about a direction. They wanted to get younger. Pirlo has ideas about how to play. Now, he has not been able to implement the direction as well as you would like it to be because it has looked disjointed at times, way too often. Do they want to continue in this direction? If they do, I don't think Ronaldo's there. I think they find a way for him to go, even if they let him go on a free and he picks where he goes. I don't know where he goes. That's going to be down to where Erling Haaland goes. That's going to be down to maybe where Harry Kane goes because that could be in play. There could be a lot of possibilities for that. If they go down this direction that they've started on, I think he's gone. If, and after this season, they could do this. If they say, okay, direction's nice, but we got to win now. We got to win Serie A. We can't afford to do this nonsense. We can't risk it. I think he stays.
Yeah.
I think if they get spooked, he stays. And they go in a safe direction and they just try to out-talent people. They're probably going to have some limitations on spending, but not too much because they are pretty well off. If they get spooked, they're going to hold on to him to try to win Serie A next year and just right the ship. But if they continue with the direction, now they might say that, okay, Pirlo's not the guy to implement the direction and we go somewhere else. But if they continue trying to do things, well, I mean, I don't know, John. The results aren't good.
No.
Juve's got better players than they've got results. That's a fact. And direction's nice, but for Juventus, it's not everything. But it's something, because that's why they started it in the first place.
Right.
This is the balance. This is the balancing act. This is where it gets really hard. This is what Manchester United went through for a long time after Sir Alex Ferguson. They could never stay patient enough to actually see a direction pan out or even be implemented. And that's why you kept going through people, and you ultimately had Jose Mourinho at his most bitter. You had Louis van Gaal, who's not exactly warm and fuzzy. You had guys who had done things in places and did win a few things, but didn't get you where you wanted to because you couldn't wait. Now, they finally had some patience at Manchester United with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he's righted the ship. But now the drumbeat's starting again. Yeah. It shouldn't be, because he will likely finish second. He is the favorite to win the Europa League, and maybe now the pressure's on winning the Europa League. But getting knocked out in the FA Cup in the season, I don't think is a huge deal. It's not a good loss. You don't want to lose there, but it's not the end of the world like some people are making it out to be. Now, next season is where I think, okay, title race, and if you're not in that title race, then you have a problem. If he doesn't win the Europa League, you might have a problem. I would like to hear from It's Brett, who has now joined us in the Twitch pitch. Does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have a problem? Does he need to win a trophy this year, or could he be on the way out? Ragamuffin's now chimed in as well. Ragamuffin's very excited. Where's Liverpool in the table again, Ragamuffin? I'm just asking. They are in the Champions League. They would
not be first.
Well, neither is Manchester United, so that doesn't really matter.
They're not second either.
That's true. But they're in the Champions League, which Manchester United is not. But they've got their own issues. Again, as I've said it many times, I don't know why people get so polarized when it comes to Ole. I do feel like now, and I didn't feel like this way before this FA Cup loss, just trying to get a feel for people's thoughts about the job. I feel like there's more pressure on winning the Europa League now. I do.
Yeah.
Yes, Ragamuffin, I have a man crush on Ole. I just think he gets mistreated, that's all.
You're right now. You're the odds-on favorite, a little ahead of Arsenal, who's your number 2. The hashtag was out this weekend after the loss to Leicester. Hashtag Ole out was once again trending. He talked about fatigue being the blame for the loss, but he also said he wouldn't do anything differently to get to that point. So, but I just don't know. I honestly do not know where the consistent, and I'm going to go ahead and use the word, where the consistent crapping on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer
Well, no, John, you know where it's coming from. It's Manchester United.
Well,
this isn't Leicester. This is Manchester United, and there is an expectation of winning things often and a lot of them all at one time. It's not Leicester. But you have to be realistic. And I think the way the club had been managed up until the appointment of Solskjaer, there was never any plan. Again, tying the pieces together. There was never the vision. There was never a direction. It was just, go get this guy, go get this guy, go get this guy. Okay, go get this manager. Okay, just go win now. Oh, yeah, we don't have as good a squad as Liverpool or Manchester City. Well, you're fired. Okay. Go get these guys. Okay, go win. Oh, you didn't win. Fired. Bye. See ya. You had no direction.
Yeah.
And you just signed guys. And you just signed a manager. And you just threw it out there. You had to get somebody in to right the ship. And he might not be the one to take them to the next step in the journey. That happens. But he's done the job that he was asked to do. Can he grow into the new job, which is to win the Premier League? They could not think about winning the Premier League for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And they couldn't think about it this year. They're not good enough. They need to be in that position next year. They need to. It's been long enough. They need to. If they're not, see ya.
We've pretty much thought that they were a year ahead of schedule where things are right now. And I think that this year, you finish second in the Prem. There is absolutely no shame in that whatsoever, considering that the folks above you, yes, I know that they're the crosstown folks that want to paint the town blue and all that, but I don't think that as you've been building here, I still think that next year is the year where the perennial rubber is supposed to meet the road for a Manchester United club with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, with everything that you've built to this point. I just still think that you're a year ahead of schedule.
Yeah, but people don't think that way.
I know.
A lot of journalists don't think that way either. And it starts the drumbeat, and that's why you get a hashtag trending, and that's why you get all this. Ram says if he gets second, he's safe. He should be safe to me no matter what. If they crash out in the quarters of the Europa League, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I thought second in the Europa League was the goal as the years emerged. As they went into the Europa League, I thought second place in the league, Europa League, was the goal. If you were a losing finalist in the Europa League or you got bumped to third, okay, you're fine. You can deal. Now with this, because this is only going to continue the amplification of that drumbeat, maybe it puts more pressure on the Europa League. Jason Nick says another trophy chance missed for Ole, though. That's the problem. And yes, this is a club that wants to win trophies, and he needs to win one. It's getting to that point. Maybe Europa League has more meaning now for him and for the club. Maybe it's a definite here. But in terms of the league, yeah, that's what I've said for a while now. They weren't good enough to compete. I thought they were pushing for fourth this year. If they finish second, that's an accomplishment. That's good. Is some of that down to Liverpool having a shocking year? Yeah, it is. It 100% is. Okay, then they'd be third. He's done a good job. He's done a good job in the league. It's still a little too inconsistent at times. You still want to see more of the direction on the field, the style of play. You do want to see more of that. It's not where it needs to be. And those are the things that give you a little bit of pause. But he's done enough for me to go into next year with clear expectations. Title contention, trophies. If you get to the semis of the Europa League, I'm okay. That's not going to be okay because he's lost in the semis so many times of different things. People are going to lose their minds.
Yeah.
I think you're okay if you finish second. No question. Nothing else matters. I think you're okay for next season. You should be okay. But what it does is if you win Europa League this year, for example, and you finish second, okay, that takes some heat off for next year. It does. If you don't win the Europa League and you finish second, you're going to have heat next year like you would have had no matter what. If you fail in the quarterfinal of the Europa League, if you get knocked out at the next stage and you finish third,
yeah.
I think you're back if you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at that point, but I think those expectations for next year then increase. Like it becomes a higher bar for you to hit to keep your job after next year.
Yeah.
If you win the Europa League this year, that's going to buy you more time. That's going to give you more of a safe feeling for next year. But if you don't, right. And if you fall into third, then yeah, if you're back, and you should be, you're going to have to win the league, or you're going to have to win the Champions League. Full stop. And I don't know if they'll be good enough to do that next year, because then you get to the bigger picture of, is everything progressing in a way like that? It's better. It looks like there's somewhat of a coherent strategy, but would you say that Manchester United is City at this point, is Liverpool at this point? No, not quite. Now, if they add Erling Haaland, if they add Harry Kane, if they go and do something like that, then we're having a different conversation. But yeah, I mean, I think he's safe, but I think the more slip-ups there are the rest of this year, the higher the bar gets for next year.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think that if a trophy is a part of the discussion at the end of this year, it buys him some time through next season or into next season, depending on starts and personnel and all that kind of stuff. But I think that if the less success you have with the remainder of this year, both domestically and internationally, is in direct proportion to the amount of pressure that's going to be put on you at the beginning of next year.
Brett says the pressure on Ole, believe the team selection wasn't right, but we didn't deserve anything about yesterday. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you could have rotated more, or you could have picked the right group, and there's going to be questions about that. Ole had the international break coming up. I think it's easy after a loss to go to team selection, but yeah, there's questions after a loss in that for sure. It wasn't good enough yesterday. We've made progress, but he and us as a club, this is from It's Brett, in general, will be judged on trophies, 100%. And I totally agree with it. I think Brett nails it. Reminds me of when Sir Matt Busby left and we went through manager after manager before Sir Alex came in. Absolutely a similar situation. After Alex Ferguson left, Moyes, and then here, and then there, and then over here, and then there was never any coherent plan. There was never any patience. There was never any building. You needed to solidify it. That was what Ole's job was coming in. I think he's done his job. The question is, can he now do the next job, which is to win big trophies? I don't know. I honestly don't know. He might not be the guy. But I think he deserves the opportunity because of what he's done to find out. And that's the tough one to swallow at times for a club like Manchester United. If you're a smaller club, okay, you can do that. If you're Manchester United, it's more of a gamble. It is more of a gamble to say, you know what? We're going to give Ole Erling Haaland. We're going to go spend the money for Harry Kane. We're going to give him the keys to this, and we're going to expect him to win a big trophy next year. He's deserved that opportunity, in my opinion. If he doesn't, then, yeah, he's going to be gone. Because that's what happens at big clubs. You're going to have to be gone at some point if you don't win. And he's at that point now where they have the expectations to win things, especially if they go shopping in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are there, and then the success to the level that you would anticipate will be there at the end of this year. But then you add the resources that a lot of other clubs that are looking for European success are going to be chasing. If you end up getting some of those high-profile guys, then obviously the expectation is going to be there for you to succeed on a greater scale than you had. We're giving you the resources. Okay, now let's see what you can do with it. And that's what you're looking at next year if some of these pieces fall into place that are part of the discussion.
Well, let's also make it clear that they could have given other people resources too, and they didn't, because this front office has been incredibly dysfunctional.
Yes.
Bernd is not high on Ole. There's a lot of people not high on Ole, and I totally get it. What I would say is if Harry Kane says, yeah, this is the best place for my future is to go to Manchester United, which could happen. If Erling Haaland says the best place for my future is to go to Manchester United with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge, he deserves the opportunity to find out if he can do it. If you get to a point where you start talking to these guys and they say, no, I don't want to go play for him, then maybe you have to make a change. I don't know if you're there. We won't know really until we get to the transfer market. I'm not sold that he is the guy to coach a top team in the world. I'm not either. But I think if he is able to have a top player come in, and based off what he's done so far, I think he deserves the opportunity to find out if he is.
Yes.
I don't know for sure that he's not, but he's going to deserve the opportunity to answer that question. And it might be a short exam. You know, I mean, he will be at that point that if you get midway through next year and you're in 6th and you get bounced out of Champions League, sayonara. It'll be time to go. It's going to be a very difficult thing for him to do because it's a very difficult thing for any manager. He will be graded like the best in the world next season, especially if they go and get a top player. And I don't know if he'll survive it. I really don't. But I think he deserves the opportunity to find out because this squad is not that. This squad was not looked at as a second-place team. It wasn't. This squad, people were saying if he gets into the Champions League, that's an accomplishment. If they finish second, that's a big accomplishment. I think he deserves the opportunity to try to take it a step further. We'll see if he can answer the call. We'll see if he can get it done.
Yeah, no, exactly right. With the resources that others, I mean, he doesn't have the resources others have. With this team to do what he has done with this side, he deserves the chance to see if you bring in a big ticket item or a couple of big ticket items, what you can do in that regard with everything that he's built with this point. The coaching capital that he's built up to this point, I think, gives him the opportunity to deserve the chance to see what he can do with other players.
Now we'll go further down the line. They're 1 point up on Leicester with 9 to play. They are 6 points up on Chelsea, who is still unbeaten under Tommy Tuchel. Do they finish second? Because if they don't, then that changes the whole paradigm. If they finish second and they win the Europa League, for example, he's back next year. There's no way around it. And anybody who says otherwise, I think, is incorrect. If they finish third or fourth and they win the Europa League, he's back, no question about it. You're good to go. If he finishes third or fourth and he doesn't win the Europa League, let's say he loses in the final. If he finishes third or fourth and he loses in the semifinal, that squeaking gets louder.
Mm-hmm.
If he finishes third or fourth and he doesn't make it to the semifinal, he might not be back next year.
Yeah.
Now, who do you go get is the other question. Do you go get Nagelsmann? Do you go get, you can't get Pochettino. His PSG team looked really good yesterday. Went up 4-0, ended up winning 4-2. Who do you go get? You got to go get somebody better. And if this is the bar, who is that? Because Nagelsmann hasn't won anything either. That's the question for me. And this is what's hard. When you fall out of that group, how do you get back? Who do you go hire to do it? I don't think it's Max Allegri. I don't know if it's Nagelsmann, but I don't know if Nagelsmann is, yes, I will agree because I know it'll come up. There's more to see philosophically with Nagelsmann's teams than with Ole's teams. There have been. But he still hasn't won anything. Now he's in a different competition. But they went out kind of meh in Champions League to Liverpool here. Is he the guy? I don't know who else would be the guy. I don't know who the next name is on the list. I don't know who it would be. You're not. I don't think you can sell it if it goes down the way it does, and it absolutely could. Leicester can jump you, Chelsea can jump you. If it goes down that way, who is the hire? Because you can't sell anybody on Hasenhüttl here. Mm-hmm. You can't sell that one. You can't make that work. You're not getting anybody else near you in the table. You're not getting a Bielsa. You're not getting anybody from the bottom half of the table. Who from another country are you getting that is the right fit? Who's out of a job? Are you going to go get Rafa Benitez? Is he probably the best option here?
Odd Checker came up with their top 10.
And they already have a list. That's great.
They already have a list, especially with the loss. They come out with a list. So here's your top 10.
Yeah.
You want me to? I'll build up.
Build up. Go backwards. That's more fun.
Okay. At 16-1, we have two individuals. Gareth Southgate.
That's
Rafa
an interesting
Benitez.
one. Okay, Southgate is an interesting one. You could probably sell that. You could sell Benitez because of what he's done, although it's been a while. You could sell those two to the fan base, I think. I don't know if either one's the right hire, but you could sell it.
Ralph Rangnick is also at 16-1.
I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work because of his personality. I don't think it's the direction Manchester United wants to go. And I think that kind of a style, just like I've said about Marcelo Bielsa as well, I don't think it works at a top team. And Manchester United should be aspiring to be one of those teams. It works to bring a lesser team higher than they should be. It is really good at accentuating positives and hiding weaknesses. It's not something at a top team in the world. And Manchester United should be aspiring to be a top team in the world. Like, Rangnick would be a great hire at Leeds, just like Bielsa was. He'd be a great hire at Crystal Palace. But they get scared of things changing. He'd be a great hire at a Burnley, a Brighton, a Newcastle, somewhere like that. Newcastle needs to get back up into this conversation. They could use somebody like that. He's not a hire at Manchester United.
10-1, Eddie Howe.
Why is Eddie Howe better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Like, that's the thing. Is, I mean, yes, he's available. Yes, he's well thought of. But can you say that that's going to be the move that wins you the Champions League?
Nope.
Or wins you the Premier League? I mean, I don't think you can sell that.
Nope. If you couldn't keep Bournemouth up, then you get sacked from Bournemouth.
No. I mean, it's not like going down with Bournemouth, who had the smallest stadium and the least amount of resources, is a shock. Let's not spin it that way now, John. Yes, he couldn't keep Bournemouth up. A lot of people couldn't keep Bournemouth up. Right?
But for me,
right?
And for me, no, you're right. I'm just saying that if
so, that's not a failure.
So giving him what he did to keep Bournemouth up as long as he did was great.
Yeah.
And everything had to be perfect. And
full credit.
For them to have a perfect year was when they finished mid-table.
No. And he did a good job. No. It's not everything has to be perfect. He did a very good job. Let's not act like it was luck that they stayed up.
I'm saying everything had to be perfect for them to be mid-table is what I'm saying.
But he had to do a good job for them to be mid-table.
Right, and
let's make sure
had to
that's
be healthy.
part of
there
this.
Wasn't the depth and all this.
Yes, but he had to do a good job. Let's not just throw it to luck. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm being fair to Eddie Howe here.
Yeah,
but that's a very different conversation than winning the Champions League and winning the Premiership.
No question.
He's never been in that job, and he could be great at it, but he's never been there. I don't know if you can sell that one. Okay, who's next?
Hasenhüttl at 8-1.
See, the idea is nice. It's great. I really like the way he sees the game. But can you sell it after the losses he's had at Southampton to come in and win everything at Manchester United? Can you get people on board with that? I don't think you can. It'd be a really bold move that could pay off. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, and there's one guy that I have held out of the discussion who is lower than Hasenhüttl. I put him to the side for a second because it's a separate topic.
Okay.
Pochettino at 9-1.
That's not happening.
He ain't going because he's at PSG.
That's stupid.
Nagelsmann is 6-1.
That's the one that I feel like would be the move. Domer thinks the bookies are drunk for not thinking of the great Neil Lennon.
We need Jarrett back to talk about that one.
No, we don't. We don't need to talk about that at all. That's the one that I think is the most likely, is Nagelsmann. I don't know if it's the one you need, but it's the one that's the most likely. And I do think he has a much clearer way of playing than Ole does. Is that going to be enough to win with a bigger team? It could. I think he's the one that makes the most sense.
Brendan Rodgers at 4-1.
He's not leaving Leicester. That would be ludicrous for him.
Yes.
Because he could stay at Leicester for as long as he wants, and obviously can be competitive there. He should go and see what he can do in Champions League with Leicester. There's no way he should leave that job right now. If next year Liverpool gets right, Arsenal gets right here at some point, Tottenham remembers that they can actually be in the top 4 again, West Ham continues to grow, Everton continues to grow. If then Leicester becomes not a top 4, but more of like a top 9 or 8 or what have you, sure. But if he walked away from Leicester now, walked away from a Champions League campaign to go to Manchester United,
yeah,
he would have to win everything at Manchester United, or I think it would really be a black mark in his career. I don't think it would happen.
The favorite is Max Allegri at 5-2.
I'm not buying it.
And then the one that I pulled off to the side to discuss, Zinedine Zidane at 12-1.
Why are you pulling that off to the side to discuss?
Just because it was it was an interesting name that they put in here. And Gimme Sports says, with 4 Champions League titles to his name, Zidane's suitability to the United job requires little introduction, while 6-time Serie A winner Max Allegri is up to the challenge, currently an attractive free agent. So that's how they're phrasing it.
I mean, Zidane's a better candidate than a lot of people on that list because I don't know if he's back at Real Madrid next year. And yeah, he's won. Again, you get back to identity and way of playing. It's not like he's really had one. But he's won things because he's had a ton of talent. He knows how to manage top talent. You're going to have that at Manchester United. You should. That's not crazy. That's not crazy at all. He might want to leave Real Madrid, even if he doesn't get asked to leave. He might say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this nonsense anymore. I would say that Nagelsmann is the best option out of all of that. I think Allegri's too defensive for the way Manchester United generally has wanted to be, but they also hired Jose Mourinho, and we saw how that worked. So maybe they do go down that road if they feel like he can win. He's been out of the game for a minute here, but I would go Nagelsmann over Allegri. I would put Zidane third, and my wild card would be Hasenhüttl. Just because I have a lot of respect for the way that I think he sees the game and what he tries to do. I just don't know if you could ever sell that to the fan base. So I think Nagelsmann would be the guy.
A couple of other wild cards way down the list. They have Conte at 18-1.
No.
Bielsa at 18-1.
No.
Phil Neville at 20.
No,
Tuchel and Michael Carrick at 25.
I mean, Carrick would be one, but it'd be the same thing as Ole. You know, I mean, he's a former player who is starting out in his managerial career. Ole had a little more experience even. So, I mean, you're not doing anything different there. And if you've decided that Ole's not the guy, you've got to go somewhere else. Byrne throws Marcelo Gallardo's name into the mix, and he would absolutely be somebody that you could consider. I don't think Manchester United would, sadly. They should. I don't think they would. I don't think they're thinking in that direction. He would be a really good hire. The question would be, is he going to walk in and get the same level of respect that he does at River at Manchester United with players who might not pay attention to what he's done at River? He should. I don't know if he necessarily would, and I don't know if Manchester United would go in that direction. I'd love to see it. I don't think they would. I think Nagelsmann is the guy.
Yeah, and then just a couple of other crazies that have been put on the list, and this is Paddy Power and Betfair for those that want to check on this stuff. Laurent Blanc, Luis Enrique, and Ten Hag at 33-1.
Ten Hag's not crazy. Ten Hag would be a good hire. Ten Hag would be probably in my top 5 of guys you'd try to pursue. Absolutely. I'd have no problem with
that. Sadi at 40-1. Yogi Löw at 50-1.
Hey, Maurizio Sarri wouldn't be a bad hire either. You talk about winning trophies. He won Serie A with Juventus. I know everybody else did too, but he did. Andrea Pirlo isn't. And he won a Europa League. Mm. And what he did at Napoli, Maurizio Sarri would be a really good hire. They're not going to do it because I don't think he would have any interest in going back to England after the way he was treated at Chelsea. But he would be a good hire. Yeah, he would.
Let's see. Simeone at 50-1. Wayne Rooney at 60.
Rooney's not ready yet. Heinze's name came up here. He's not ready for that kind of a job yet. I don't think he wants that kind of a job yet. He wants to build and get the experience. Rooney's just started. Absolutely, Rooney could end up being a guy like that, but we don't even know what Rooney's going to be as a manager yet. He's done a good job. Rooney's done a really good job at Derby. They're a lot better with him. Right?
Yeah, they are. Their takeover fell through, so
he had nothing to do with that.
And no, but I'm saying that he's having to negotiate all of that stuff as well.
What has he done as a manager?
They stank at the beginning of the year, and he's gotten them out of the relegation fight.
That's a good job. I'll take it. I agree with Byrne. Manchester United has to have somebody who's going to be attack-minded. It's just the personality of the club. They couldn't go Allegri because of that, in my opinion. Zidane, you could probably sell because of his just who he is as a former player and a legend and what he's won. but he's a little more defensive. Not super, but a little more so than you'd like. If you miss on some other guys, you would. Nagelsmann's not defensive, but he approaches it in a different way. I feel like that's the way they would go. I might be wrong. They might go somewhere else, but I feel like that's the one that they would go get. And I don't know if it's the right hire either. But yeah, Bern, this is the issue, and this is what it comes down to: is whoever you do, if this is the move you make, if you say Ole's not the guy to take us to the next level, we've decided he finishes 4th, he loses the Europa League, we've decided he's not the guy, and we're going to put a title race on next year. Okay. Who is out there that can be that guy? There's not a lot of clear answers. There's not. Nagelsmann's not a clear answer in that regard for me. Rafa's not a clear answer in that regard for me. Allegri is probably one of the more clear answers, but stylistically it doesn't fit. It's a tough one. I agree with you. Nagelsmann's raw. I don't think he's ready either. And he would be smart, like I just mentioned with somebody like Gabriel Heinze, if, let's say, Manchester United goes crazy and says, all right, yeah, we'll go off the board here. We'll go give him a call. Nagelsmann would probably need to say no for his own future career to get more experience in a spot where you have a different level of expectation. How many times have we seen managers or coaches go places that are too big for them, and you never see them get back on that track? They make the move to a big place too early, and they can't handle it, and they burn out. You know, you'd be smart if you're Nagelsmann. I think Heinze making the move to Atlanta is actually really smart for him because it is different, but it's not a Marseille, which was a club he was linked with. You don't want that right now. You want to continue to grow and build and get ready for that job. And he made the right decision. It's a tough call because it's hard to say no when somebody like this comes in. Johannes says, Flick to DFB, Nagelsmann to Bayern seems obvious to me, maybe too obvious. Rummenigge has said Flick's not going anywhere. Now, of course, things can change, but Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said over the weekend that he's under contract through 23. He's not going anywhere. We're happy. I've made it clear. Done. And the Federation has said they don't want to go try to hire somebody who's already working at a club. Now, everything can change. But that does make sense. That is very obvious. But does he leave? Does Flick leave Bayern? Does Bayern let Flick leave? I don't know. If that was to happen, then yes, I think Nagelsmann would then have to take Bayern. That's one you can't say no to, even if you know you're not quite ready for it, because you still should win the Bundesliga. You still should be that team every year. And then it becomes down on Champions League and how you do. It's going to get interesting here. It really is, because you've got the Juventus situation that they might say, you know what, screw the direction. We got to go get somebody to win today.
Yeah.
So they could be in the mix. Real Madrid could say, I don't like where this is going with Zinedine Zidane. He seems burned out. We need to go in a different direction. Real Madrid could be in play. Things could get weird with Bayern, but I think that would be the move they would make. I don't think they'd really be in play. I think if Flick left, they'd immediately go hire Nagelsmann and be done. Manchester United could be in play. I don't think Liverpool will be in play. I think that whole idea was overplayed here. I think Jurgen Klopp will be there next year. Tottenham could be in play. I mean, that's a lot of big teams that could be in play for next season. Like Barcelona, I don't think is in play, and I've said it before. I think if they do become in play and they move on from Ronald Koeman, which they shouldn't right now at all, it'd be Xavi. I think Xavi gets the call, and that one's already done. It's like Bayern with Nagelsmann. I think that would be the move they make. You could have some big-time managerial jobs open up. You could have some really big ones open up ahead of next season, and things could get really weird. We've talked about big players moving, big managers, and big clubs looking for managers could become another subplot this summer. Might be a wild, wild ride on the rumor front.
Yes. Silly season in carousel all collapsing into into each other and creating this like matter and antimatter supernova in the off season.
Yeah. Before we get into questions from people on Twitter and questions on the Twitch pitch, go ahead and start sending them in so we can wrap up with that. Inter, their international players, the local health authority is going to let them travel for international duty if all of their tests come back negative. The team can only train right now. They're in their international break. They didn't play over the weekend. But you had a concern that players wouldn't be allowed to travel. Romelu Lukaku, for example, has been called in. Brozovic has been called in. Perisic has been called in. Christian Eriksen called in. Skriniar's called in. Hakimi hasn't been called in yet, but it should come today. The international rules apply to all the workers in quarantine, where a person who has started a period of isolation abroad has the right to return to his country of origin to finish the quarantine period. They've started their period of isolation because of contact tracing at Inter. They could go and finish it, not have to start over, and then play for their national teams. It's one to keep an eye on. We mentioned the situations changing both at the government level with exemptions and protocols changing. That's going to allow the players from Germany to travel to the UK, for example. The French league is allowing players to go to Asia and Africa now. Everything has moved really fast. Now, also, you have weird situations like Portugal. Portugal moved their qualifier against Azerbaijan to Italy because, at the time, if it had happened in Portugal as it was supposed to, they would have possibly had to leave out 10 Premier League-based players who would have had to self-isolate on the return to the UK, coming back from Portugal. So you still have some issues with this stuff. Also have 3 qualifiers in 7 days, which is incredibly stupid at this point. But good times, UEFA. We'll see how players look at the end of it. We'll see how teams look at the end of it, because that could factor in as well. Other stuff from the leagues on the weekend. We've talked about Germany. We've talked about Italy and Juventus. In Spain, another manager who will be available next season that we haven't mentioned yet that could be popping up in some of these places, Jogi Löw. He is, according to reports, Bild is one of these people reporting it, he has started taking private Spanish classes, and he has always been attracted by a job potentially going to Spain and working in La Liga. He had been linked with a move to Real Madrid at one point. That would be fascinating if Zinedine Zidane moves on and Jogi Löw comes in to Real Madrid. I'd like to see him at a club. I don't know what it would look like now. I have no idea. It'd be a complete mystery. It'd be really interesting. Lionel Messi, 768th appearance for Barcelona. He's now appeared for Barca more than any other player in the club's history. He had 2 goals. Pretty good stuff. Dest had 2 goals. Griezmann scored. Dembele scored. Messi assisting on Dest's goal. Got everybody all excited. 23 league goals on the season for Lionel Messi this season. That's absurd. Mentioned Atleti, the big save from Jan Oblak late. They win 1-0 over Alaves. Luis Suarez scored. They have a 4-point lead at the top of the table. They're out of Champions League now. They should do it. Will they? We'll have to wait and see. That Atleti-Barca game coming up later is going to be wild. FA Cup draw, Manchester City and Chelsea on one side, Leicester and Southampton on the other. That's funny how that worked out. Mm-hmm. Games are at Wembley, April 17th and 18th. Manchester City, their schedule gets nuts here coming up with everything that they could be trying to win this season. So when they come back from the international break, they go to Leicester on April 3rd. They host, we think they're hosting, maybe it's somewhere else, who knows, by that point, Borussia Dortmund on April 6th. So they go to Leicester, top opponent in the Premier League, on the 3rd, although the game really shouldn't matter because they have such a big lead. They host Dortmund in Champions League Leg 1 on the 6th. Then they host Leeds, which you're going to get worked in that game, even though you're a big favorite there. You're going to have to fight for it. Maybe you see heavy rotation. Gwen's letting everybody know that
Gwen knows they're going to get worked.
Leeds will make you work. Then they play Dortmund in the second leg on the 14th. Then they play Villa on the 17th. Well, that's going to get moved, sorry. Then they play the FA Cup on the 17th against Chelsea. Then they play again at Wembley in the Gummy Bear Cup final against Tottenham on the 25th. That's a lot of big games in 1 month.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games in 1 month. So from April 25th going back to when they restart, they will play a cup final, a cup semifinal, 2 legs of the Champions League quarterfinal, and 2 Premier League matches. That's a lot.
If not a third, sliding that Villa match to midweek because you have 8 days between the FA Cup semi and the Gummy Bear Cup final.
You're going to really try not to do that. It depends on what Villa's doing, too. Have you looked at Villa's side of it?
I will look at Villa's side of it quickly.
They might have to play in that, but you're going to probably push back on that one. It's a lot. They're trying to win 4 trophies. They're going to get tested in a big way over the next few weeks. Steve Bruce not going anywhere, according to Mike Ashley. People are freaking out about this, and they should be, because, my Alex. Goodness, they look terrible.
Oh.
Terrible, 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 terrible.
Yes.
Alex Basine. I helped my brother move house this weekend, so only my poor wife and kids suffered through that steaming poop emoji, proving that trauma can be genetically passed to later generations. Crying emoji. Playing scared, sitting back when you absolutely, all caps, need to get after it. Brighton ate us alive in both ties this year. I'm really sorry, Alex. I feel bad for you.
Yes.
Because it's
Alex.
horrible, and it's embarrassing, and it's all the poop emojis you can imagine. He shouldn't be there anymore. Like, you're going to go down if he stays. You might still go down because of the damage he has done, but you will go down if he stays.
Yeah.
No question.
I still look at that game last day of the year with Fulham.
You might not even have anything to play for there. Let's be real. They're beyond hot garbage.
Yeah. What's worse than hot garbage?
I don't know. Newcastle?
That's like what if hot garbage is Newcastle currently. I'm just wondering if there's anything worse than hot garbage.
I don't know. Like
on the scale of garbage.
They've created a new scale. They're that bad. It's that bad. They have no business being this bad. They are this bad. Burning garbage, wet garbage, dumpster fire. They're worse than all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible sadness and just it's horrible. It's horrible. It's so upsetting. I'm really sorry for you, Alex. I'm really, really sorry for you because it should not be this bad, but it is. What's also bad, if you're a Tottenham fan, is Harry Kane allegedly wants to leave. This is from the Express, so let's take that with a giant grain of salt. But John, you're posting links to articles at the Express about Harry Kane wanting to leave.
Yeah, and Daniel Levy, if he's going to put any kind of a price tag on it, everybody is saying it's got to be 125 to 150. Harry Kane wants to win championships. He wants to win titles, those kinds of things. And so apparently all of this allegedly is playing into this desire that Harry Kane wants to leave Spurs.
Okay. Maybe he should. If Jose Mourinho sticks around, he should. I don't think Jose is going to stick around, but I don't know that for sure. Jose is playing psychological games now in the media. Good result. The players deserve total credit. They had a great attitude. They gave absolutely everything. They played like a team. The next challenge is to play like this, not in reaction, but as a permanent thing. Yeah. It's just that milk got sour a while ago. It's time for Jose to go. And allegedly, and where is this allegedly coming from, John? Because you added it about Julian Nagelsmann.
That is off of an ESPN report.
Okay, it is being reported that Julian Nagelsmann is being viewed behind the scenes at Spurs as the ideal replacement for Jose Mourinho. So there's another one for Nagelsmann to make decisions on. Could get weird. I don't know if Tottenham's a better fit for him or not. That might be even more frustrating. To be perfectly honest, that might be even worse. Because if he goes to a Manchester United or he goes to a Real Madrid, the expectation is going to be to win everything now. I think the expectation at Tottenham is pretty close to that, and I don't think they're actually close to doing that with what they have. I mean, they should be better than they are right now, but I don't think they're a title contender right now.
No.
And they got to keep Harry Kane, and they got to keep Son, who's going to be up for a contract here very soon. This might be the end of the road for this group at Tottenham. Go ahead.
Yeah, David Ornstein over at Sky, when he was from The Athletic and he was doing his pundit tour on Sky, said that I speak to a lot of people in football. The consensus is Harry Kane would like to leave Tottenham, but he can't say that publicly. He's the captain. He's very committed while he's at the club, but he wants to go and win trophies.
That's a change because that hasn't really been talked about up until now. He will have opportunities because only one team's going to get Erling Haaland. He's only going to play one place, and there's going to be teams that have said, we need to get him, we need to get him. I'm sorry, if you get a chance to get Harry Kane, you should do it, and you should spend the same amount. Yes, Haaland's younger. Harry Kane might be the most complete forward in the game right now. If you have an opportunity to get him for 125, 150 million, and you were going to spend that on Haaland, and you don't get Erling Haaland, that's not a bad number two to fall back on. It might be too big for them to say no to, and he might want it. And I think it's not an accident that it is coming out now that he would be willing to listen to moves. I don't think it happened by a fluke.
Yeah.
I think he knows what the market could be. And, he wants it out there, that if the right team comes in and the right number's there, then, I'd be willing to go. I think that's absolutely a ploy, and it should be. It's a smart move.
Yeah. Ornstein says that Kane has said it publicly that he wants to win trophies. He's made it incredibly clear he wants to be winning multiple trophies, the biggest trophies, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that at Tottenham. Ornstein says, I think he would be open to a transfer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is intentional. I don't know if David Ornstein is making that speculation or Harry Kane's people are putting out feelers.
Right.
That's where I'm at. Sean asks if it's time for Daniel Levy to leave Tottenham. I don't know if it's that simple. I mean, again, like you get stuck into these spots. It's really hard when you're a team at this level. Manchester United's with us at the manager. Tottenham could be with us with Daniel Levy. Okay, you decide, you know what, we're going to make the change. It's time. You've done everything you can. We need somebody new in this role. Who's out there that can be better? And that's a tough call to make. When it's going well, but not as well as you want. When it's going badly, it's an easy call to make.
Yeah.
When it's going well, but not as well as you think it could be, you better get it right because you might fall back the other direction. I don't know all the inner workings with Tottenham, Sean. It's a tough one because I understood their balancing act financially as they were building a stadium. And I'm sure that's going to factor into decisions on Kane and Son and a lot of things because they just built the stadium and then they had to play in it empty. Arsenal went through that too. Arsenal hasn't recovered yet. They're close. They didn't look close in the first half on the weekend, but they looked better in the second half. They haven't recovered from that. It's tough. You build the new stadium to make more money and to elevate yourself, but it's a lot to overcome. I don't think you should change it because I don't think he's able to have all the checkbook. I think he might have a check or two. I don't think he's got the whole book to work with.
Yeah.
I think he has limitations that we might not necessarily know about. Now, if he goes out and he sells Harry Kane because the money's too good, then he will be judged on what he does with it. And you can't put all of it towards stadium debt. You've got to go out and do things to prepare this team for that next thing. I don't think Arsenal ever truly did that the right way. They just held where they were. When they were cutting back on their spending, when it became just get into the top four, they stagnated because they didn't do the things they needed to do to grow on the other side of it. Because you expect when you do this, you build a new stadium because you expect to make more money, period. You got to pay it off. But when you get to where you're making that money back again, you expect to be in a better place. But you've got to build the right team to be able to do that. So if he goes and sells Harry Kane, which would be a potentially very smart move to do right now because Are they going to become a title contender with what they have right now? No, they're not. They're not going to grow into a title contender. They don't have the money to go out and buy the players to be a title contender. If that's the case, you've got as far as you can get with this group. Sell. Now's the time.
Yep.
If you can sell Kane and maybe even sell Son and bring in $200+ million to revitalize your squad, now's the time to do it. But you've got to revitalize it properly.
Yes.
And how you do that is what Daniel Levy would be judged on. I think he's done as well as he can possibly do with what he's had to work with. He took the Gareth Bale money. He did get to a Champions League final with it. I know the coach is players. I understand, but this is what he's going to be judged on. That's pretty good. Hasn't won anything yet. Hasn't won a trophy yet. I know that hurts. But he took that money and did well with it. Now might be the time to get the money for Kane and Son and add 4 or 5 players and be a better team for it. And then when you're making that money off the stadium, which should start to be rolling in here at some point, then maybe Tottenham is elevated into that upper echelon. That's the idea anyway. But you got to make the right moves now to be ready for that. And I think selling Kane and maybe selling Son would be the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that where Daniel Levy is concerned, I think that you would be getting the maximum return for those 2 guys right now. And having to do it, I know coming out of a pandemic economically would, present issues as it does for everybody. But I think that if you do it now, then I think you can take that money and reinvest it and then get to where you want to be as a club in that new building as you're chasing a new sponsor for a title sponsor for that building, which you haven't been able to get yet. All those economic factors can play into this and benefit Tottenham if it's invested properly.
Yep. PSG yesterday looked great. Went up 4-0 in 53 minutes. Kylian Mbappe with 2 goals. The second one was just a devastating counter. They gave up a couple as they kind of got sloppy towards the end, but they win 4-2. They go back to the top of Ligue 1. Lille lost 2-1 at home to Nimes, which was craziness. You come back after the break, PSG and Lille, top of the table clash. PSG's there on goal differential right now. Scotland yesterday, it was a 1-1 draw between Celtic and Rangers. It was not pretty. It was not really a fun watch. I watched 45 minutes of it and was angered by the spectacle because it was bad soccer. 2 teams that Rangers have nothing to play for now. They've won the league, and they're out of everything else, and Celtic's just not very good. The best thing about it was the pre-match display of solidarity. Absolute full credit to Scott Brown, the captain of Celtic, who during the pregame warm-ups went across and embraced Glenn Kamara, who had the incident with the Slavia Prague opponent from Thursday in the Europa League. That's a really good sign from Scott Brown. It was a really good display pregame to show that this stuff is not going to be stood for any longer, and it needs to be changed, and UEFA has to act, and UEFA hasn't acted on anything yet, which is a problem of UEFA, and everybody needs to continue yelling at UEFA from here on out until they do, because this is unacceptable. This is 100% unacceptable, but full credit to both of those teams who can't stand one another. It's so toxic between those two. To do that yesterday and do it properly, that's classy from both. Even if Celtic didn't want to show the class of the honor guard, at least they showed class in this way, and full credit to them, and full credit to Scott Brown. That was a good thing to do. Boca Juniors lost last night, 2-1 to Talleres. It's an awful loss. They haven't won at home in 2021. There's starting to be a lot of questions about Russo, their manager. He went away from the 3 in the back and went back to a 4-man back line. I mean, they lost to Talleres. They shouldn't be losing to Talleres. You've got players who potentially could be on the way out. It's a bad look right now at Boca. River won big on the weekend, but as we've talked about, neither one have looked good in big moments. They're going to be judged by the Libertadores group stage, which starts in about a month. They're not showing any kind of form to make you feel good about it. They should have enough talent to get through out of the group stage and be finishing in the top 2. We don't know what the groups are yet. We'll keep you posted when those are drawn. But Boca and River are not good at the moment. And if they're just treading water until they get to the Libertadores, yeah, that sounds great, but when you play this bad and you lose games like this, it starts to weigh on you a little bit. And you could say, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, this cup competition isn't really that big of a deal. You can say all that to yourself, but when you're losing games to Talleres, it's a problem. Peru is absolutely drunk these days. We mentioned it last week. Alianza Lima was pushed back into the first division by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, John's favorite group that had no power, according to John, except they pushed the team back into the first division. Yeah, they've got some power, John. Jeez.
Power.
Yeah, they have it. Carlos Stein, the club that Alianza was like, well, wait a minute. They didn't pay their players in previous situations. You haven't just fined them Peruvian FA. You have docked them points. And the FA is like, no, that's fine. We're just fining them this time. You're going down. And it's like, well, wait a minute. No, here's the last past president. No, you're going down. You're going down. The season had already started. Carlos Stein had played one match. It was a scoreless draw. That's been wiped out from the records now. They're going down to the second division. Alianza Lima is back in the top flight. Tim Vickery in the World Football newsletter broke this down in a big way. The fact that they were relegated in the first place, Alianza Lima is a big, big club. They're one of the biggest clubs in Peru. They should never be relegated. They were. The level in Peru right now is bad. Very bad. And you saw it with Ayacucho, who were knocked out 8-2 on aggregate by Gremio, lost 6-1 in Brazil in the Copa Libertadores play-in round. Binacional was the champions last year. They were spanked all over the place in Copa Libertadores. 8-0 loss, 6-0 loss to River, 4-0 to Liga de Quito, 5-1 to Sao Paulo. We tried to help them out. They didn't even want to answer emails or they didn't want to answer tweets. So that's what you get, Binacional. Those teams have won the league lately. Now, they play at altitude. They usually pick up a lot of points by playing at altitude. This last championship, the last season in Peru, was not played at altitude. Everything was played in Lima. Alianza didn't have to travel for anything. And they still got relegated. Now, they didn't officially get relegated, and they shouldn't have been relegated, but they shouldn't have been anywhere near that. Alianza Lima is a mess. An absolute mess. But they're back in the first division. So Peruvian football as a whole is a mess. Costa Rica. Alajuelense looked a little bit like a mess. It was a 1-1 draw against Santos. They were missing 7 players to the Costa Rican U23s. They didn't look good at all. It was a late goal to get a point out of it. They haven't lost in 23 now in Costa Rica. It's men against boys when you look at the teams in Costa Rica. And they didn't look good here, but they still got a point. In MLS on the weekend, a couple of things that have popped up before we finish up with questions. So Minnesota reportedly tried to get Boca Juniors attacker Wanchope Avila on a loan. This is according to TNT Sports in Argentina. Initial reports have had that turned down. He's on the outside looking in. Russo he did this with Agustin Almendra. We talked about it when that rumor came up with him coming to Atlanta. Like, guys just get pushed to the side and don't play. And Avila is one of those guys now. So teams are like, well, hey, he can play here. We'll see if they get a deal done. I'm sure they'll go back to the table there. Philadelphia might have to go get a deal done. Jose Martinez, their holding midfielder, left the scrimmage with Chicago over the weekend early. Didn't sound good. I have not seen an update yet about the injury on him. It did not sound good I don't think it was a contact injury. I think it was off the ball. It's a problem. If they lose him, it's a big problem. They might have to go into the market and try to find somebody. Chicago has said, Raphael Wicki had an interview with MLSsoccer.com. He said they're good. Of course, they're looking. If something happens, they might make a change. But he's happy with the roster. They're not looking to make moves. They did a lot of their business really early before the offseason got really underway. They added John Espinoza. They added Chinoso Ofor. They added Stanislav Ivanov. They've added a young Colombian who can't join until next year because he's 17, Jean Jadir Duran. They've built under the core that they had, and it was pretty good. It was close to getting into the playoffs last year. We'll see if they can get better. There will be bigger expectations, but the whole Eastern Conference has gotten better too. I don't know if they're good enough. We'll see if these new faces help. and we'll see if they improve. LAFC, Carlos Vela, quoted in the LA Times as saying Diego Rossi will go to Europe soon. He said, I have a great friendship with Diego. He's young, so I think I have to help him mature. In my mind, I have no doubt that Diego will leave for Europe soon. I am trying to teach him what I have experienced, and he will go to Europe and have a career there. Vela also gave an interview, and this was with ESPN during the 2021 Media Day. I think, and he's talking about himself and what he's done at LAFC. He said, I think that in the end it is good to play against world-class players because it brings the best out of you. Well, it did in my case. I was fortunate to face Zlatan 2 seasons here in MLS, fighting head-to-head, and at the end, I won all the individual titles. This year, I have to look for new objectives and rivals. Maybe also needs to look for a team title, but just saying. Keep an eye on the situation as well after Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, talked on the weekend about Liga MX and MLS. A merger between them would be seen positively and could produce, quote, the best league in the world. That adds some fuel to that. That could get wild. Don Garber said it in December. It's a long way away. The opportunity's great. You know they're kind of circling around one another. They're doing the dance between the two. You've got to talk about Belgium and the Netherlands merging. It would be a huge deal. It would create a great league. I don't know how it looks yet. I don't know what it looks like. But yeah, when you've got the head of FIFA talking about this, okay, maybe that's going to push it forward a little bit more. Okay, final questions from Twitter. What you got, John?
Well, a couple of things. One note and one thing from Tafka. Note on Twitter from NYCFC. They've signed Chris Gloucester. They've acquired him from PSV Eindhoven on contract through 2023. Option to extend for 2 additional seasons. NYCFC's also traded $100,000 in GAM to the Red Bulls in exchange for his MLS homegrown priority, with additional conditional GAM benchmarks are set. So that's news out of NYCFC this morning. Tafka linked to a piece at MLS Soccer, top 10 newcomers for 2021. And this is Tafka speaking. The insane, in all caps, disrespect to Santiago Sosa as an honorable mention compared to the 10 they listed, which includes...
Who are the 10 they listed? Give me the list.
Okay, I'll go 10
because I want to remind everybody, Santiago Sosa has 22 games with River Plate. 7 of those in Copa Libertadores, some of those Copa Libertadores games against lesser opponents. 22 games. That's it. Okay. Who are the 10 ahead that should be bigger? What's the headline again?
Top 10 newcomers for
just
2021.
Top 10 newcomers. Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right. Who's the 10?
All right, here's 10. Jose Antonio Martinez, FC Dallas.
Veteran center back from La Liga. Just compare the CVs. Okay, I'm cool with that.
Number 9, Jader Obrian from Dallas.
A little more of a, not unknown, but a little bit more of a, let's see, but he has more experience than Sosa. Okay.
8, Derek Williams with the Galaxy.
Where did he come from?
Good question.
It was England. He's got more experience, but maybe not at as high of a level. Okay, who else? Oh, no, you're going to leave me.
Kim from LAFC.
A lot of experience. Again, not a league that is maybe as highly regarded, but a lot of experience. Sosa just doesn't have a lot of experience. That's going to be the number one reason why. It's not insane disrespect. It could look wrong by the end of the season. Don't get me wrong. But coming into it, I can understand why these guys are ranked ahead. Let's see who the rest of the list is.
Oh, Derek Williams was Blackburn Rovers. Number 6, Claudio Bravo, Portland Timbers.
Bravo from Bonfield. I'm trying to remember how many games he played at Bonfield, because that one might be one that it's like, well, wait a minute. Claudio Bravo, how much did he play at Bonfield? 49 games. Yeah, that one shouldn't be as high as it is. If you're going to have Sosa off, he shouldn't be ahead of the guys he's ahead of right now.
Next on the board, and a caveat was posted with number 5 by Greg Seltzer when he put the list together. Yes, it's true. Luciano Acosta isn't a pure newcomer in the sense he's played in MLS before. However, he's joining a new club, transferring in from abroad, so I'm counting him as one in this context.
Yes, he should be counted. And yes, he would be ranked ahead of Santiago Sosa.
Number 4, Cecilio Dominguez in Austin.
Yeah, he would be ranked ahead of Sosa.
Number 3, Gregoire at Inter Miami.
Who?
Gregoire.
Yeah, Gregoire. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, he's got more experience, so yes, he would be ranked ahead of Sosa.
Number 2, Tomas Pochettino in Austin.
Yep, more experience.
And the number 1 is Brenner at FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Bravo's the one that I'm kind of like, well, maybe he shouldn't be that high. But Sosa doesn't have more experience than any of those guys. So it's not insane disrespect at all. The end of the season, it will look very different than that list. That list will be torn up at the end of the season when we talk about best newcomers of the year. And guys who don't have a ton of experience but made the right move will be there. But coming into it, I understand why you go there. I mean, there's not a ton, we know Sosa because we pay attention to it, and now we've seen him in a training exercise, but the league wouldn't. I understand that. So yeah, that's not disrespect. It'll look different by the end of the year, though.
Honorable mentions on the list: Anderson Julio at RSL, Deiber Caicedo with Vancouver, Stuart Finley from the Union, Stanislav Ivanov with Chicago Fire, Bjorn Jonsson from CF Montreal, Javier Lopez in San Jose, Mafla from New England, Pinheiro with Nashville, Johan Romana from Austin FC.
Every newcomer now?
Yeah. Romana from Austin FC, Santiago Sosa, and Remy Walter with Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm okay with him not being in the top 10. It lowers the expectations. And he shouldn't be because he only has a handful of games with River Plate over 3 years. It's okay. He'll be fine.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay.
USL League One announced today their full schedule for the 2021 season. Each of the league's 12 teams played 28 games, 29 weeks for the playoffs set for November. All 12 League One clubs play each other home and away, with the remaining 6 matches lined up against region rivals. Top 6 will advance to the playoffs. Opening 2 weekends of the season, April 10th and 17th. Full swing in late April, starting with the 24th. USLLeague1.com is where you can find the full schedule.
28 games?
28 games.
Okay.
28 games, 29 weeks, 168-game regular season slate.
Very cool. Very cool. Starting to ease back into normal. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, yeah, so I'm sorry, I was looking at schedules and everything, but I'll look at that later. Yeah, USL League One ONE, not the number. USLLeague1ONE.com gives you the full grid.
Sean Vergara says, don't sell Son, talking about Tottenham, but we need to invest in the back line and midfield, plus a tactical change gets us to where we want to go. You're not going to invest unless you sell. Sorry. I think that's where it is for Tottenham. I think that's where it is for a little while with the stadium stuff. So if you want to invest, you're going to have to sell. And if you're going to sell Kane or Son, you should probably go ahead and sell both and bring in the max amount that you can and rebuild. That's the way I would do it. And I know that's painful. I get it. But I don't think you're going to come up with money to really do the things you want to do unless you sell guys that are probably it's time to, unless you're going to commit to them for 10 years. And, if Harry Kane's already putting things out there, or his people are, or people are speculating that he would think these things wildly, it's probably going to be time. And Son, I think there were things a while back about him wanting a new deal, and it was being pushed off because of the pandemic and everything. So you might have 2 guys who are like, yeah, it might be time to go. And if it is, then sell them and bring in everything and rebuild the way you need to do properly. Sam Williamson says, I've replaced Scottish soccer for Argentine soccer. I just can't watch it anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. Ram, who's an Aberdeen fan, says it's shockingly bad. My team Aberdeen have scored 1 goal in 10 games. It's a shame when you get into some of these spots. I mean, we were talking about this on the Discord this weekend, and if you're a subscriber and you're not in the Discord, please let me know so I can get you in. If you want to be part of the Discord, subscribe on Twitch or join us on Patreon, and you'll get a Discord invitation. But it came up just talking about leagues and scouting and things in South America, and I enjoy the Ecuadorian league. It's a fun league, and you've got not just one team or not just two teams, but you've got an interesting battle at the top with teams with different personalities. Independiente del Valle is a team that's always going to build young, and they play a certain way, and they're going to sell their guys and then rebuild the next load. Like, it's always going to be new and fresh. Emelec and Barcelona are going to go get just the old veterans and try to win everything they possibly can. Maybe Liga de Quito is a little bit in between the two, but you've got 4 teams that are fighting it out at the top. That's fun, and it's an interesting, compelling league. Peru doesn't sound good right now at all. It's just bad soccer. Scotland right now, it's bad soccer. I mean, even with the top 2, Celtic stagnated, and it was just bland this year. You had a bad manager, you made bad decisions, and they played bad soccer. Rangers, I mean, I don't know if I'd say they play good soccer. They're robust. They run a lot. They fight. I mean, that's about it. Like, it's I like watching leagues that are compelling. The Argentine league for me is really fascinating because you see results like Talleres going to Boca and winning. The nature of the competitions in Argentina is crazy too, and having a 13-game season followed by a playoff adds chaos to the mix, and chaos can be fun. Mataflo says a Peruvian friend of mine stopped following Peruvian soccer because it's that bad. I mean, that's a shame. And when Alianza Lima is that bad right now, it's bad. Sean, we're not going 4 hours. We're about to finish because I have a sore throat, and we'll be talking on soccer over there later today. Some conversations back and forth about Ronald Hernandez and his time at Aberdeen. He didn't play at Aberdeen. I think a lot of it was bad timing. I really do. Unc, I don't know about Josetu. I mean, there's been pictures of him training. I think he's been in training. I don't know if there was an injury that prevented him on Saturday from seeing time in the training exercise. I don't remember seeing him on the side, but it was kind of difficult to spot everybody. I know Jackson Conway was there, and he warmed up, and he was available. You weren't trying to make a bunch of subs during the 30-minute segments. Conway did work out afterwards. I don't know if Josetu was there and just didn't factor in. They wanted to see other things, or if there was a knock. I don't know. But I believe he's been training, and he's shown pictures, and there's been things posted. So I don't think it's anything other than that. I don't know why he didn't play on the weekend. Let's see. Jarrett, I don't know why we're still on the air. I don't know. What?
I was summoned.
You signed up in the Twitch pitch and you said something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, because you're still on the air and it's 3 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah, I know, because we're about to go. There's been a lot of things to talk about. It was a busy weekend, man.
Yeah.
We were talking about how Celtic was crap this year.
They were. To which I just said in the Twitch pitch, Rangers could score on anybody. They can also hemorrhage goals at an apocalyptic rate. And when the scoring dries up, the hemorrhaging does not dry up.
Yep.
Their 39-year-old goalkeeper made saves this year. He's not going to make next year.
Because he'll be 40?
I do not trust a goalkeeper to make the saves he was making at his age year after year after year. Because when the cliff hits, at the age of 39, the cliff becomes sheer.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
All right, Jarrett, what's your biggest overreaction from the weekend?
I don't think it's an overreaction. I'm optimistic with the kids making the Olympics.
Okay.
Nothing's perfect. Like, there's things I want to see them do better on. In their semifinal that they've made, but this is awesome. They made a semifinal. We've talked for years now about how it wasn't good that they missed a World Cup. No matter what any contrarian tells you, it's not good that they miss Olympics, despite what anyone tells you. It's great that they are in a position now where the Mexico game is not a must-win situation. You can see what works, and you can get ready for that.
you can get ready for that game coming up with the semifinals and a chance to go to the Olympics. I'm super excited about that. I'm glad to see them playing well. And all pettiness aside from his time in Orlando, I'm glad to see Jason Kreis. Seems to have it clicking. Jason Kreis kind of got a weird shake in New York.
Yeah, he did.
Then kind of gets weird at RSL.
No,
Orlando,
it didn't get weird at RSL. No. That was fine because he won. He got to a final. He left because what else was there for him to do? You know, he left at the end of 13. Not weird. It was just time for him. And I think the opportunity in New York was exciting to start a team from scratch that was going to be well-funded. And it didn't work out like it should have for him. I thought he kind of got screwed a little bit.
I think, yeah, that's fair. And I think the issues in Orlando, when we look back on it, the issues in Orlando go deeper. Oscar Pareja is brilliant at his job. The issues in Orlando go a lot deeper than what Jason Kreis had to deal with game day roster wise. And
it's both.
They seem to be turning things around. Good for them. Yeah. I think everything is better when Orlando's good.
Yeah.
But even the best managers have hiccups in places they go. But I'm excited to see Jason Kreis have this team in a good spot, and I'm excited to see what they do. I'm really excited about the semifinal.
Yeah. Orlando, Kreis, some of the things that were said, and Justin Merrim was one player who talked about not having clear direction, some of the preseason training going into that season. That doesn't sound like a Jason Kreis team. Those are things that he's got to do. I don't know what happened in Orlando at all. It made no sense because that's not what he's known for. That was baffling to me. New York City, I think he was promised things and they weren't delivered on. And I thought he would have some more say in what he needed with that roster. And they gave him Andrea Pirlo, who wasn't the type of player he needed and wasn't really the type of player that would fit into MLS.
He wasn't the player anybody needed at that stage of his career.
No,
no offense to his brilliance.
No. He was just coming off of a Champions League final. Let's be real. But MLS is a different league, you know, and structuring the team, like, you needed something different in that team. You couldn't add another, older player who couldn't run at that point. You needed something different. You didn't get it. The thing with Kreis, like, the Orlando situation's so baffling. It left a big black mark on his career, and I think it was a good thing for him to do what he did. Is he lays low, he goes to Miami, he kind of just puts in the work behind the scenes, he gets this opportunity. This is a good fit for him. He's got to win the semifinal and get them to the Olympics. If he does that, he's good. He's back, and he'll be an assistant with Phil Neville, and that's another good spot for him to be in, and he'll get another opportunity. He gets his team to the Olympics, he'll get another opportunity at a first-team level somewhere in the league. He will.
So that's I don't think it's an overreaction. And I don't want anyone to, personally, I don't. And if you do, that's you. That's between you and God. I'm not approaching this with any pettiness or any snark or any, sense of, hipster irony about it. I'm just excited that the Olympic team is one step away. And it hasn't been perfect, but considering what we've seen the last few tries at the Olympics, this is awesome. Good for Kreis. Good for the kids.
What's your overreaction, John?
How allegedly angry Erling Haaland is at his situation currently at Dortmund.
Man, this stupid thing from the tabloids.
Yep. So Dortmund draws at Cologne over the weekend. So everybody sees the video of him taking his jersey off, storming down the stairs. So according to Bild, Here's what Erling Haaland said. He was heard saying that I effing hate this, effing BS at the halftime break. He effing hates his side's current form. So he dropped 3 F-bombs. So take from that what you will as an overreaction, but I would be too if you're drawing 1-1 against Cologne. And so maybe that's the indicator for the folks in the Premier League to back up the Brinks truck to Mino Raiola's house and sit there and say, "Hey, if your guy effing hates this."
Of course, John's going to say, "Oh, it's the signal to the Premier League." Have you heard of a little club called Real Madrid?
I've heard of them.
They've been saving up some money, John.
They have.
But they don't matter, do they?
Nah.
God,
No,
the,
they
the,
don't.
the
At least he's
bias. The bias
He's
is
wrong,
so
but he's honest.
absurd.
Chelsea is going to back up about 98 Brinks trucks because Roman Abramovich just can't deal with anybody else not having Erling Haaland.
You don't think Manchester United's not going to back up a Brinks truck?
Oh, I think. Look, they're all going to do it. Manchester City's
About
going
to
to do
say,
it.
you don't think Manchester
City's
City,
gonna do it.
who's about to play them, you don't
Oh,
think they haven't already started having some conversations?
Of course
Remember who Erling Haaland's father is
Oh yeah,
and where he played.
yeah. At the time at Molde, yeah.
No, John.
No. I'm talking about the coaching that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did.
No. I'm talking about Manchester City, John.
Oh, look, I know that it's going to be bidding from hell.
No.
Crazy numbers.
No. This has already been mentioned in your beloved English media. They've already had some conversations with senior Haaland, who played for Manchester City. They're obviously preparing for the game here with Dortmund. They're going to get to see him up close. They've obviously scouted him. If things go well and Pep feels like he's the guy that fits into the way we play, he goes to Manchester City. I don't care what Abramovich does. I don't care what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does. The only thing Ole's got is, I coached you as a kid. Chelsea's got cash.
Mm-hmm.
Manchester City has family connections. And
Real
the best
wants him
manager
to
in
be
the world.
The replacement for Benzema long term.
Manchester City has cash, family connections, and the best manager in the world. If he's angry about drawing games, he's going to want to go to the best manager in the world.
Yeah.
I think he goes to City. If Pep feels like he's the guy that fits into the system, because not every great player fits into that way of play.
Right.
Zlatan didn't. Zlatan didn't work at all at Barcelona. And they shipped him right back out. And they went and got David Villa, which was a better fit. If he feels like Haaland can play in this way, he will go get him. If he doesn't, he won't. And then he'll go somewhere else. But Manchester City will have the first option, in my opinion.
And like I said, it's we talk about silly season and carousel. The silly season with Erling Haaland is going to be the numbers are going to be insane that are going to be thrown around. So that's my overreaction.
I don't really have too much of an overreaction. I feel like I've reacted over and under and on par all day.
Yes.
I guess my overreaction is the latest from Fabrizio Romano on Neymar. He's, I guess, allegedly on the verge of signing a new contract again, because that was supposed to already be locked up by now. So I'm reacting to, yeah, right. It's supposed to be through June of 26. Last details to be sorted soon. A huge bonus will be included if PSG win the Champions League in the next years. I don't know what that means. And maybe that's where I'm overreacting. Does this mean that Messi's going to go there? Does it mean that they're just trying to lock up Neymar? Does it mean that they're going to lock up Neymar and Mbappe? Does it mean they're going to be a player for a Haaland, for somebody else? I don't know what it means yet. So I'm intrigued by this. If they get this done, because they feel like he's the main guy they got to get. I would try to sign Mbappe to the long-term deal first. But if you're going to build around Neymar, you're going to have to put talent around him. What talent are you going to put around him? I don't have an answer yet for PSG. I don't know what they're going to be going forward. I'm intrigued, though. I want to see how it plays out. Because they got cash, but they don't have all the other things.
so old these days compared to... I still feel like in my head, I still think of Neymar as that young Brazilian kid. No, not
Well, and considering how much he's been beaten up and all the injuries that he's had, I mean, he's an older physically than he is chronologically.
He's. I don't think he needs a cane just yet. I don't think he needs a walker anytime soon. Let's slow down on old man Neymar talk here.
Old man Neymar.
Yeah, not quite. That's going to do it for us. We've talked long enough. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. You guys kept hanging out, so we kept talking, and there was a lot to talk about. We'll be back for more to talk about on soccer over there tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll give you an update on Alan Franco if there is one by that point. We'll give you an update on any of these other moves. David Alaba is being linked with a move to Spain now. It sounds like he's telling everybody else no. We'll get you ready for all the national team stuff with World Cup qualifiers, with AFCON qualifiers, get you ready for the CONCACAF Olympic stuff. That's at 7 o'clock tonight. You can watch on Twitch, twitch.tv/SoccerDownHere. You can also listen on the Soccer Down Here app. We'll see y'all at 7 o'clock. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.